Hey guys, welcome back to the Danger Planet. This is Doug, and today we're talking all about Marvel Crisis Protocol by Atomic Mass Games. Well, Mr. Shane, welcome back to the planet. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic, and thanks for having me back, Doug. Appreciate it. How you doing this evening?
Good. Guys, some of you are going to be familiar with us because you're just, on the Danger Planet channel. Shane is a mod on our Discord, and he is a local tournament organizer and player for MCP. Shane, how long have you been playing this game for now?
Gosh, man, I started during COVID. It's got to be 5 years.
5 years. Yeah, almost half a decade. I think I've only now been playing about 2. Right? But our background in general, if you guys are new to the Danger Planet and you just found us for the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, is that generally we're a group of fairly competitive gamers that are tournament war gamers. Previously and still going on, we have quite the specialty in Malifaux and skirmish games, like indie skirmish games. But a true love of ours, and has been for a long time, is Marvel Crisis Protocol. We have a subsection of our Discord devoted to it, and a bunch of us actively play it and love the game. I myself am a Web Warriors player primarily, and I'm currently painting and finishing off my Guardians of the Galaxy. And Shane has, almost half the game or something at this point, Shane?
No, I think I'm missing like 5 boxes or something, and some of them are the hard to get a hold of ones right now. I might have a problem.
Yeah, you definitely do, for sure. But I do that in Malifaux, too, so it's fine. I told myself I'd be a lot more restrained this time with Marvel Crisis, and it's allowed me to focus in and learn my factions, which specifically are Web Warriors and Guardians, and it's been fun, but I'm going to have that scope creep, too, because I've been looking at some Wolverine models that I really, oh, man, want to play Weapon X so fucking bad. Anyway, so, sorry for that long intro, the internet. But basically what we're doing here is Shane and I are going to be doing a ongoing series focusing on Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we're going to be covering the meta, and we're going to be tier listing out the meta based on tournament results, current model changes, FAQ and errata changes, and generally just when we feel that there's a significant shift within the competitive meta of Marvel Crisis Protocol. So that's kind of what we're doing today. We are going to basically go over every single faction in the game currently. We're going to give a snapshot of how that faction currently plays in the meta, its general game plan, with a couple of examples of what the lists are doing that are tournament relevant within each of those sub-factions, and then we're going to rank them. We've got triple S tier, very sexy, A tier, P good, B tier, playable, C tier, could use some love, and D, dog, Talk the dog water, because we love Talk and she needs to be included in the tier list because she's right here next to me. Shane, my friend, speak now or forever hold your peace unless you feel morally opposed to this process here, because I think this is what we're going with. Yeah
no,
because
it sounds really good, Doug. I just want to give a quick shout out to Soren over at SG Protocol. We'll throw a link down in the comments over for his blog. Every month he does a blog where he breaks down the position shift from month to month of all the different factions, rated, unrated. He does a lot of work. It's amazing. Go read it. It's awesome. We're not going to go as in-depth as he does, but we're probably going to use a little bit of his work to...
Well, we're copying his homework with his permission because that guy kicks ass, basically.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. Great human being and smart gentleman. Highly recommend reading his blog.
Yeah, we'll have for each one that we do, guys, we are gonna have his articles linked, because my understanding is that he does a really good job with kind of keeping up with the meta stuff in general, and updating that like on a monthly basis, right? He does?
Yeah, he does every single month. We may or may not do monthly depending on what's going on in our schedules and vacations.
I think the intention is to do like monthly-ish, right?
Yeah.
And then also, like, if we feel that there's a huge shift in the meta, we're going to basically fire up a video and talk about it, is kind of what you can expect from our end, I think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's super fair to say.
Okay. Well, we have a large amount of stuff to get through. So do you want to call the ball? Which one would you like to start with? I guess we're doing alphabetical, right? So
Yeah, so let's talk about some A-Force. We saw back a couple of months ago some players have some really good success with A-Force. Most of them are not running A-Force only. They're running some sort of dual affiliation to cover. Having a 6-point leader in there who is vulnerable and is not, Hulk level 6-point is difficult. I think earlier this year they got some glow up with Jane Foster. She is an amazing model, and she slotted right into A-Force and, gave them a lot of juice.
what do you think the high level game plan for a competitive A-Force player looks like in the current meta?
So I think
I've never even played a game because I'm obviously a lot newer player than you. I haven't even seen them across the table before.
Yeah, and they haven't been popular for a long time, and they're still not popular. If you look at the play numbers for May, they were like a quarter of the amount of plays of the popular factions, and they were like 1/6 of the amount of plays as Avengers. But everybody loves Avengers, right?
Yeah, time of recording is June, mid-June, guys. So
yeah,
if you're watching this video in the future, this is the context of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, so their high-level game plan is lots of displacement, lots of throws. They have that tactics card, which allows them to not get displaced, and they can create protection bubbles. So, they've got a lot of different aspects of the game that they're participating in. But when you've got a 6-threat leader, they want to punch hard too.
Yeah, 6-threat leader is definitely it's a pricey spot. So I don't know. High level, where do you think they're at? Are we going?
I think they're pretty good. I think they're in a really good spot. Like I said, I think they need to duel. I think if you're running just A-Force, you need to get either a little bit of luck or some good dice, either the right matchups or the right dice. But I would slot them definitely inside of A, and they're pretty good.
So the top of P good. If you had to list like 2, 3, or 4 really common hires for them, what do those look like for you?
So I think Jane Foster is the number one hire that you see right now. Black Cat is obviously a staple. 2-point Black Widow, obviously a staple. Okoye is really good in them. Spider-Woman does a lot of work for a 4-threat and has the steel. So those are kind of the hires that I think are staples inside of their lists.
Okay. That makes sense. And you think you'll see a lot. I mean, having at least 2 solid 2-threats that you like seems important when you have a 6-cost leader. So.
Oh, for sure. They're models that you'll see splashed in other places. So they're both really good.
Yeah. It's models I personally splash in other places. All right. Next one up, we got Asgardians, correct?
Yeah. So it's Space Gods. Space Gods saw a big glow up with their affiliation box. With Jane, obviously, we just talked about her. She's an amazing model. She's just as good as a leader. Loki, Prince of Lies, adds a lot to their gameplay. Fat Thor, aka Thor 1, from the old days for all us older players, is making a little bit of a resurgence in some specific matches, especially against the popularity of Apocalypse and some of these conditioned forces that are coming around right now. Abomination type stuff are putting a lot of conditions out there. So I think they're really well poised within side of the meta.
Yeah, I mean, they had my buddy, when he first started, when he picked up the game, he literally picked it up with the new Thor box, and I had to play against that a bunch. And oh boy, am I glad that a little while back they rebalanced that big new Thor. But I think they're still in a fine place. I don't know. I remember a couple of my local tournaments going to and just seeing new Thor everywhere. I haven't been to as many tournaments post rebalance on him, but I still think that this faction is fine, right?
Yeah, I think the rebalance in new Thor is what brings Fat Thor back into the limelight. But inside of that faction, and not just counting the new box, you've still got Beta Ray Bill, who's a staple.
He's amazing
everywhere, right? He's amazing.
I play him in Guardians every game I play as Guardians, I take Beta Ray Bill. I love that model.
Yeah, so you've got him. Lady Sif is a little bit of that glass cannon charge model. Valkyrie's that glass cannon charge model. So you've got some good play there inside of the faction. Their main issue is going to be that they cost a lot.
Yeah.
All of their models are high point cost, but they support it really well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess high level, where do you feel like they slot into the overall meta here?
I think they're probably the bottom of pretty good. I think they're sitting between that pretty good and playable.
You think after the rebalance, they're like reasonably P good, basically?
Yeah. I think you can still expect to go to an event and win with them.
If you get a little lucky and you play well. What strikes you as, I mean, we already kind of tipped the hat on one core model that I think you're probably taking a lot of the time, which is Beta Ray Bill, but if you had to like think like, 3 or 4 small handful of core models that you're seeing out of these lists and what you like doing for them, what do you think that is right now for these guys?
Oh, I definitely think it's Beta Ray Bill. I think you're taking Jane Foster. I would take her every single time on the board. I don't know if other people are doing that or not. Everybody I have seen is doing that. You've got both Lokis are in a good place depending on what tech pick you need. Like I said, Sif and Valkyrie are kind of those reach out models.
Yeah.
Scourge, if you're looking, Scourge and Enchantress is that weird one where he can absorb a throw. Throws are still really popular inside of the meta. I think they always will be. So
I don't think throws in general just feel like a very efficient component of the game loop to me. And to be efficient and having good throws just feels like good abilities. Like you kinda always would welcome in a kit,
Right, and when you can redirect a throw and an unlimited range teleport to your 3 threat, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy. Yeah. Anything, and then any other high points on these guys in terms of playstyle on the board, what they're looking to do, how they're preferring to play the game right now?
No, they've got a lot of mobility. They got a lot of shock inside of there, so they're reducing their opponent's dice while still putting out large dice pools, and that's kind of their shtick.
Yeah, like delete people with the power of Asgard.
Yep,
and have some cool tricks about it. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so I kind of want to premise this next one, right? Because we're basically going in alphabetical here, right?
Yep.
Mr. Shane. All right, so this is a good example of a keyword or like subfaction that's just like absurdly large. And what you guys will see us do is we're primarily focusing not on hitting every aspect of the subfaction, but we're talking about usually like the most predominantly played competitive variants of that subfaction. So the next one we're going to talk about, right, is I'm sure you can guess with that with that warning, right, is Avengers, right? I figure we talk about, but it's like we're not going to talk about every Avengers list, right? So like what Shane and I are going to discuss mostly is going to be discussing like what are like the top tier most competitive Avengers lists that folks are seeing in the meta currently, how are they being used, and what models involve that, and then we'd talk maybe like some diff lists or some skew lists, but primarily what you guys see us going through these, that's what we're going to be focusing on. So now that I've tipped that out of the bag here, Shane, talk to us a little bit about what's going on currently in the competitive meta for Avengers.
I think in a lot of competitive events right now, we are seeing Avengers all over the place. The rebalance to Gambit with First Avenger, that's not getting a huge amount of play yet, but I think once people understand that your 3 threat is averaging 6 to 7 hits with Reserve Member and Steve's leadership and Gambit's die change, people are. It always feels good in this game when your 3 threat throws out a 5-die attack and does 7 damage, right? Feels pretty good.
Feels pretty efficient, if you ask me.
Yeah, he's only doing one of those per turn. His second one isn't as effective, but it's still pretty good, especially if you can back him up with some other rerolls. So I don't think in the Steve 1 list people are currently doing that. Or in the Steve 3 list, people are doing that. But I think you're going to see a lot of that Captain America First Avenger with Gambit stuff going around. This glow up to Gambit is going to be really huge. But you're also seeing classic Steve, discount Steve, coming in. We've seen him. He was all over squad goals. Of course, that's a team event, so that format really lends to Avengers. But you've got Voodoo, you've got Shang-Chi, You've got Cable with the defensive tech. You've got Beast with the throw. You've got a lot of good models in there. Sam with the charge.
Surprise, you're in Avengers and have access to a lot of good models.
Yeah, King T is really good. Luke Cage, really good. So you've got a lot of really solid models who can spend down the power really well with Steve One. In a new meta, like we saw the new Crisis come out earlier this year. So March, April time is really when we saw events really grabbing onto the new Crisis packs and glowing it up here. So I think Steve One's always going to rise to the top when it's kind of an unknown meta, because he can kind of do a take all comers list. As that goes down, I think we're still going to see, anything that's got Hulk and Shang-Chi in it. With
Can't be that
Avengers
bad.
and Defenders, that's the only two places the two of them are
and has synergy with them. Can't be
affiliated.
that bad.
And with the power synergy from Steve One, I think it's always going to be on the board.
Yeah.
My sleeper pick here is Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson is my personal highest win rate model as a leader.
I've seen some Sam Wilson lists that are spicy and that are good. I've seen those.
I don't think his list has ever gotten bad. I think it's still doing the same stuff. There's a lot of punch right now, though. The super attrition stuff is a little bit out, but people are still rolling a lot of dice right now. There's very few of the Web Warrior matches where everybody's scattering to the 4 wins, and there's a lot of people playing the pay to flips that are drawing you into the box. And I think Sam Wilson Avengers is going to do really well at that. So I think we'll see him in the next couple of months glow up, because it's just an awesome leadership. When one of your guys gets dazed, you get rewarded for it, which makes that roller coaster that your opponent gets from dazing unactivated models feel a little bit better.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I definitely agree with everything you just said. I probably would lean more into new look Steve Rogers, just personally because of my playstyle, but I acknowledge that Mr. Wilson has got it going on too. All right, where do you want to put these guys?
I think these guys are going to be the top of pretty good. And
yeah, that makes sense.
I think they might shoot up into S tier for a little bit, and then as the meta balances off, I
always see this faction kind of, for a lot of the reasons that you talked about, honestly, man, as like kind of the top of pretty good. Like it's what you reminded me of when you were like, a faction that has Hulk and fucking magical nunchuck man. Like, how bad could it be? Where I think a lot about like the theory behind Guardians of the Galaxy play, where I think about like what you taught me about synergizing with big pieces, and it's like, well, I've got like a really efficient leader and I'm buffing the hell out of 6-cost Hulk, like how bad could it be? That's literally what I think to myself a lot when I go to play that faction, and it reminded me, at least in a couple of play loop components, of like what you were talking about with on the front end of some of the more like Steve Rogers focused Avenger component builds,
Yeah, and they're good guys, right? So you're always going to have people in the meta who are good guy stands and are going to play the good guys all the time, and these are your classic good guys.
Yeah, they're the movie like models that you put on the table,
Yeah.
and they pack a really good deep roster and are generally pretty solid and heavily represented, at least at every tournament I've ever been at, to be honest.
Yeah, I think looking at their roster, the only ones who we have not seen in a movie yet are Gwenpool and Squirrel Girl. Everybody else on their roster has been inside of the MCU. So, like, there's also that familiarity component, which is always going to put their play rate high. As an example, they were in May, so in 1 month, they were the top played faction at 592 games.
Yeah.
And the next one was at 423. So, they've got...
And that's not uncommon for them. They're usually, like, one of the top most played factions.
Yeah, they're, like, almost 30% higher than the next played faction. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. All right. I love these guys. Let's do Black Order next. Yeah, I'll go. I guess technically another movie faction because like Thanos got a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit So this has obviously had ebbs and flows, and it's been changed a good amount of times in terms of power level and how it plays and what it's doing and how it plays versus attrition and how it's functioning. Talk to us about the current state of the Black Order, if you will.
So I know there's a couple of people who've had success with the Corvus leadership. I don't personally see it. I've never seen, other than a couple of dedicated people who really put in a lot of time, have any success with it. And when we start talking Thanos, he got the nerf earlier this year and everybody fled away from him. Everybody just went their separate ways and said, all right, that was cool. So he's no longer splashed.
Everybody had a meeting. They shook hands. They looked each other in the eye. They gave their best friends a good old back pat, and then they just fucking went in other directions.
Which is okay, man. Like, I saw that guy. Every tournament I went to, at least 2 opponents had him in one of their lists.
Yeah.
And, he was just everywhere. He's been everywhere. There was a good reason for it. He was a really good model, especially with the gems.
And how they used to work, right? Like,
yeah, the nerf to him was really big. And then Corvus, the change to the reality gem was really like a little bit of a nail in the coffin to Corvus. So I think... I hate to say it because I really like them, and I think maybe they're better than Tox Water, but God, man,
this is the first ever Talk the Dog Water.
Yeah, I think they are.
Okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. Fuck it, we got to be honest,
Yeah,
top of Talk the Dog Water. I mean, all right, let's just go over very briefly some core models that'll show up. I mean, it's still worth at least giving a review of like the core models to the team, even though we kind of both agree they could use some love after being smacked down a couple of times. So what are core models you will see in the list if you see it, you think?
I think you definitely need the Thanos leadership. I think because of the change to him, where the stuff only works in Black Order, where he can use the gems without paying the cost in Black Order. I still think he's a windmill slam. I think you pay the 8 points. I think you put 2 gems on him. Whether you want to go reality to be offensive because Corvus can't really afford it, or you want to be totally control. He's got that option out there. I think he's definitely windmill slam. I think CGR, Cosmic Ghost Rider, still a really good model, even after, I don't know, he had 3 rounds of nerfs or something at this point.
They're just like, screw you in particular.
And, I mean, when he came
out... Stop, he's already dead, stop.
When he came out, he was clearly overtuned.
Yeah, still, really badly overtuned.
When you're just, like, taking random 12 die attacks, and, you don't gain power for the damage you take from that 12 die attack, and he's counting his skulls in it.
You're just picking up models.
Yeah,
you're picking up models, or you're flipping them to the other ouch side real fast. So
yeah, so he's still deleting a couple of models a turn. He's still got the play pattern where you're pushing models towards you and moving them around the board. You can kind of pick and choose with his token now, whether you want it or not, based on playing him late in the turn and choosing how many pushes you're going to do and how many pushes you're not going to do. So I still think he's right up there. Proxima Midnight, to me, has always been an amazing model. When I made my first list ever, she was in it because I just said, here's a long mover who teleports, who's got damage reduction. I think she should be in a lot more lists than what she's in. I personally am guilty of not splashing her as much as I should because she's a really good model. So I think that's your core. Ebony Maw, people still love him for the long throw, and I get it.
He's also just dope model. I love playing with models. Like, to me, that's the essence of a of a Marvel Crisis protocol model. That's like the fun stuff I like to do, you know, like throw shit at things.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're doing anything size 4 within range 3 that goes long, it's a good throw.
It's
Everybody
long.
knows it. You know,
Yeah.
you put the gem on him, he becomes a 6-point model. It becomes really tough when you've got an 8-point leader, and in 6 points, are you getting more out of him or CGR? I don't know. I think he's more splashable than he is played in Black Order. But yeah, we could stop talking about him. They're not.
It's
good.
fine. I mean, listen, we love all of the different factions, and by virtue of how the meta works, these will all be shifting over time. So I think it's worth, you know, taking a second for even the ones that are not necessarily hyper playable, but like, you know, like this could change in 2-3 months from now, maybe 5 months from now. They're in a totally different tier, and we're talking about them differently, you know.
Yep.
So, all right, we got Brotherhood of Mutants up next, my man. This was my first ever faction that I collected just because I didn't even look at the rules before I knew anything about it. I was like, I love the Brotherhood of Mutants. Like when I was growing up as a kid, and I grew up with the old school X-Men '97 animated like show, and like Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants were my favorite part of that show. And so when like I started in on Marvel Crisis Protocol, I immediately just was like, I'm playing Magneto. I don't care. Like I didn't even know what he did. I was like, I'm just playing Brotherhood of Mutants. This was my first ever faction.
I think our first game was Brotherhood of Mutants against Guardians of the Galaxy.
Because I was also looking at those guys, yeah. And now I own Web Warriors. Now I play Web Warriors and Guardians and own Brotherhood. I still like them. I just, you know. All right, how they fit in the current meta? Like, what are they currently doing, basically? Because also they've had a little bit of a shift because of the Mystique shift that happened and stuff like that. So a way that people were running them for a while has kind of changed, and they're in a little bit of a different spot now than they traditionally had been in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about this in a couple of months, and you get the Avalanche, Exodus, Lady Mastermind box out.
Yeah.
I think Lady Mastermind's an amazing model. I think Avalanche is just a good 3 threat, and like Pyro's cool, but there are some times where he's a liability. Quicksilver's cool
because he's super squishy, right? Or
yeah,
like can get reached out and just so they just pop him like a pimple.
Yeah, and Quicksilver's cool, but like he doesn't have any control and
overcosted for what he does.
You know, he's got that 4-die attack, and you know, where Avalanche has the landslide power, which is, you know, size 4 or less within 3, pushing them away. Once you can start sending Hulks and stuff away, it's really good. I personally believe that Mystique is got a lot more sauce in the current meta than
people give her credit for.
Yeah, and then Magneto, you know, a lot of people love Magneto, and I think part of that is just, you know, he's the classic, right?
I mean, he's iconic, bro. That guy's the man.
Yeah.
But so is Mystique. She's cool, too. I don't know.
Their win rate isn't great. I think,
honestly, it's hard for me. Like, the struggle that I had with Magneto is that he's, like, a very expensive model that doesn't have a ton of amazing mobility. So if your opponent, like, can read from a board state perspective what the Brotherhood like Magneto pilot is trying to do, and I'm talking about more Magneto centric games, right? Not like how Mystique plays or how she used to play. Like the opponent can read the board state, they can kind of play around that, and the problem like exacerbates if you run into something like a Web Warriors opponent, like I'm not gonna fight you, I'm gonna fucking do other stuff instead type opponent. Can get really annoying, you know?
Yeah, and I think the loss of the E-shape is really tough on Magneto. You know, he loved Demons Downtown. He loved Gamma Wave. He wanted to be right up there with like Lockjar, somebody teleporting him into it. He wanted to asteroid him into it, whatever it was. He wanted to be like up front and upset in the center. And now everybody can kind of spread out, and he's a lot more sad about that. Part of their issue comes from like half of Mystique's leadership doesn't work on pay to flips. So you might gain a couple of power over the course of the game, or a little bit of position, like turn 1, turn 2s, where a model can move, pick something up, refund, and then walk onto a point and flip the point. So it still isn't awful, but I think we're seeing a lot more pay to flips inside of the meta right now. And later on in the game, her leadership doesn't steamroll like some of the other power leaderships. So honestly, I think they could use some love, and I think that love is coming. I think Lady
Yeah.
Mastermind and Avalanche.
Because we know the box is coming. Hey, you made an interesting point about 3 costs that I totally, really fucking strongly agree with you on, and I want to put my lawn chair. I want to unfold my lawn chair and put it like pretty strongly on this hill. I think in the evolution of Marvel Crisis Protocol that the 3 cost is the new 4 cost, if that makes sense. Like what you're looking for from a standard of a reasonable like mid lane model is you look for it to kind of be a 3 cost now, and when factions get really playable solid 3 costs, it opens up the list building perspective of those said factions, and in my opinion really like ratchet them up in terms of efficiency and competitiveness. Do you think that's fair to say?
No, that's totally fair to say, and I think right now, especially in like the groupthink metas, there's a couple of 4 threat characters that are extremely popular splashes, and it kind of, because of that, it opens up the in-faction 3s, and
Right.
I think Brotherhood has some really good in-faction 3s. I think Mystique is an amazing model. I think Quicksilver, when he can do the steal, when he's got his place, when you need somebody who's zipping around the board, he's a really good model. I think Pyro has his place where he can be backed up and throwing the root out there in specific matchups. He's got his place. I'm not sure Gambit in Brotherhood really brings a lot other than the stealth card. Stealth for a turn is really interesting if you're facing Guardians and stuff, but
Yeah, it's situational.
Yeah.
All right, where are you putting these guys?
I am putting these guys in could use some love. I think that love's coming, but right now.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. So you're putting them like the front of C, and then once their box drops, you think they could potentially make it up to B?
Oh,
say, right?
absolutely, or even higher. I think they.
Ooh,
I think they could become up to pretty good if somebody's putting in some time with them.
Well, okay, let's put it this way, because we know that the box is coming, right? Like, and we have a decent idea of the contents of it. And we would assume that it's here, right, with access to those models. I think it's fair to put them like in playable. You think that's fair?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you're counting the 3 unreleased models in there, they are definitely playable.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, like, because we know that it's coming, right? Like, it's like literally just a matter of time, and we're gonna get them. Okay, so then what is Criminal Syndicate next? I think. Or what do you want to do next?
Cabal.
Okay, sure. We will do Cabal. All right, talk to us about the current situation that the Cabal finds itself in, Shane.
So, like Avengers, they've got I don't know, a bazillion characters. I can't count that high. I don't have enough toes.
Yeah, they only go to 7, right? I mean, I only have 4, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like half of their roster is like in a real weird place, and you don't really want to play half of their roster. They got hurt with Thanos. They have an issue where probably the best model in the faction, or who I consider the best model in the faction, Red Skull Master Hydra, is not a leader.
Which I think, I mean, it's not even you consider. I think it just is, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the internet has opinions. They could tell us in the comments. I'm sure they will.
We're part of the internet. We've got an opinion. Look at us, We're right here doing the thing.
I think Red Skull Master of Hydra is an amazing model, but I don't think you're ever going to play him in Cabal, right? Because Red Skull Master of the World has a really good leadership. I think that's what most people are leaning on. Ultron Metal Tyrant, really good. Mephisto has seen some weird play here, and I think he's pretty good. Mystique, like we just talked about, really good everywhere. Killmonger can do the things that they're looking to do when it's necessary. Kill big things good. Bullseye's nerf recently is going to be a little bit of a downgrade for them.
That sucks. That sucks for them.
But I think, he's fine. Bob's fine. So they've got a playable 2-threat at minimum. I've seen some classic MODOK coming back, blanking out your wilds, your attacks. MODOK coming back. So we'll see. I think they're in a.
I love MODOK, man. He's the best.
For science, man.
Yeah, for science, dude. For science, dude. I'm sure we'll talk about him again a little later from now. But all right. I kind of agree with everything you're saying. I don't really have a ton to add on these guys, to be honest with you. Where do you want to put them on the relative school bus of tier maker list?
I think they're. I think they could use a little bit of love. I'm not sure what that love is. Like, I can't put on my amateur game designer hat here and see what they need. But they need a real overhaul in the thought behind making their lists. They took a huge hard look when Thanos went away. But look, I mean, you got Baron Zemo in faction, and he's maybe the best 3 in the game. Has been the best 3 in the game since the original core set release.
Yeah, he's amazing. But you can just put him in anything and he's amazing. It's just like he's like the Frank's Red Hot Sauce of Marvel Crisis Protocol. You just put that shit on everything. At least I do. Like he's fucking amazing. So and I agree with your takes here. Like, honestly, most of the lists and players that I've seen doing this faction have been like, they take a couple of models that they like and a leader that they think is cool, and then they just fill it out with like generally other good models from the like other stuff range, right? Which to me kind of speaks to the fact that what you're saying is correct. Like, I'd love Atomic Mass Games just to like take a look at this faction more holistically and kind of retune them towards a focused thing, and I think they deserve it because, like, they're kind of cool guys. Well, they're not really in the lore. They're pretty shitty people.
Yeah,
but
they're awful people.
Yeah, they're kind of the worst, honestly. All right, well, that's where they're at for now. Maybe they'll change later. All right, what do you want to do next?
Right, so up next is going to be Convocation.
Mm-hmm.
Our Space Wizards.
Shane. Talk to me about Space Wizards, Shane.
Space Wizards. So right now, Web Warriors are sitting at the top of the win rate.
Mm-hmm.
Convocation is really good into Web Warriors. I have had a lot of success.
They're a strong counter meta pick.
Yeah, like just the number of mystic attacks they can put out shuts off a lot of the defensive tech of the Web Warriors. Their mobility with several models who can teleport, combined with Dr. Voodoo, who's turning off, especially like against Web Warriors, you're turning off several of those cheap models, the 3 threats who are holding on to some extracts and just like nullifying them for the turn. And they've got a lot of control. Magic's card where she's teleporting people out. Sexy Strange, he's able to send people out.
Stupid
with the
Sexy
scalpel.
Strange. Sorry, sorry, I'm being disruptive. Go ahead. You're talking about magical scalpels. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the magical scalpel plus, Sexy Strange and regular Strange, who you're not playing in this faction, but you could. Both got the glow up with their Eye of Agamotto now also counting for dodge rolls. Just makes them a little bit better. I don't think that moves the needle on whether you were playing them or not. Clea, I've heard some interviews with Atomic Mass where they think she's going to be splashed everywhere. Since her glow up, that hasn't been my experience. So I'm interested to see somebody play her differently than me because I haven't gotten a lot of value out of her. So I think she still sits on the bench. But if I think this faction here, definitely playable, probably right outside of pretty good. And if the meta stays how it is, there's a couple of things that are preying on them right now.
So you think they're like the top of playable, basically?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think Apocalypse is a little bit of a problem for them sometimes, and they've got to work on like scalpeling APOC himself out and pulling back. So depending on the scenarios, they could have a tough matchup there.
But I think it's so. What you're saying to me makes a lot of sense for this specific reason. So stick with me here. They are intuitively kind of a counter meta pick, which means that they're going to have some deficiencies against some other maybe common matchups. But to me, that is in essence what you sign up for a little bit when you take a counter meta pick, being like, I'm going to go after Web Warriors. Well, you're probably going to then lose to some other specific stuff. And like, I think APOC is like a concession you might have to make if you're deciding to bring these guys to a tournament, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think they are maybe the second best designed faction in the game. We'll get to the other one a little bit later. I may have talked about 3 hours about this guy earlier before on a different YouTube channel. But, I think they are super well designed. They're a lot of fun to play. They're right at the top of playable. I think they're good. I think you can take them to an event and win it. But they've got a couple of deficiencies, and with some of the big throw lists out there, they're going to have some problems.
Can you give us like some core models that you think show up in a lot of these lists? I think you already did, but just quickly rehash it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you leave home without Sexy Strange, Voodoo, Magic, and Wong. I think those 4 models are your staples. I really enjoy Ancient One. I understand in like the throw games that she's got some problem. The 2 physical defense and martial artist not working against throws. You do get the reroll, I guess, but for 4th
physical defense is rough, dude.
Yeah, for the 4th threat, it's bad. Against attacks, it's not that bad because she's got the reroll and she's got the martial artist.
She's just sideboard tech, I feel like, more than anything.
Yeah.
It's not a core model, right? So.
And I just enjoy her, just the little bald lady hopping around the field.
Dude, Ancient One is sick. I'm a huge fan of that character in MCP. Just bring her in when she's good in the matchups, right? Don't throw that lady into anything, any old skirmish, I think. All right, what do you want to do next?
So we're going to talk about some criminals, I think.
Ooh, the criminals. This is like it's just a nice night in crime-ridden fictitious cities, right? That's like their whole symbol? All right, where are these guys sitting in the meta, Mr. Shane?
So what we've seen recently, we saw Bullseye get a nerf. I don't think they care about that. They're like, yeah, whatever, cool. That was a dude we paid 2 points for who's, maybe had an extract but was sitting on a back point somewhere. And you couldn't just run to be on that back point because he counts as 2, right? Mm-hmm. So I think maybe he sees a little bit of a drop in Shadowland Daredevil. Right now, when you look at the win rates from last month, Shadowland Daredevil was at 64% and Kingpin was at 50-50. But Kingpin's got 259 games played, so that's a lot of games there.
The large sample size.
I don't think MODOK and Claw are currently worth looking at in the meta, but you got some really good models inside of this faction, man. Rhino with the Rhinovery, still good.
Rhino's fucking awesome. I love Rhino.
Mephisto under Shadowland Daredevil has been a thing that some people are doing. And Baku is like a weirdly good character. Mysterio is pretty good here because of his defensive tech. Kraven's a nice runaround. I know he's not taking it a lot, but
I like Kraven I play Kraven in Sinister. So
yeah,
a lot. So,
and he's still attacks well with his reroll and stuff. He's pretty good for a 3. He's probably
he can be efficient offensively for a 3 cost, right? That's mostly why I like him.
Yeah, he's probably underutilized. Kingpin is just a solid leadership. We're sitting in this new meta. The pay to flip stuff he's not as excited about, but when you're looking at just fat dudes on points,
he is a fat dude on a point for
he's
sure.
A fat dude on a point. And then Black Cat is
amazing.
One of the best characters in the game, one of the most flash characters in the game. Everybody knows what she does. So I think they are really solid. I think
they're playable.
Oh, I think they're pretty good. I think.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say top of playable. Maybe okay. Here's the question: you want to put them in front of or behind Asgard?
I think they're in front of Asgard.
Are they also in front of She-Hulk and her buddies?
Yeah, because I don't think they need a duel in order.
Are they in front of Avengers? Are they the front of P Good?
Probably not. They're probably behind Avengers a little bit, but I may be overvaluing Avengers based on my Gambit experiences. Some people have touched me in some really bad ways recently.
Jesus Christ. All right, so let's. I think it's arguable. I kind of would put these guys at the very front of P Good, but I'm totally fine putting them one back from it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fine too. The Kingpin leadership with the counting double.
I love the Kingpin leader. I'm just gonna fucking. It's our channel. We make the rules. Gosh darn it. I'm gonna do it. There we go. Boom. We did it. Look at us making bold moves here, Shane. All right. Dormammu, I guess, is next, I think, right?
Yeah, the Dark Dimension. It's so funny, man. Like, people have been dueling him or even soloing him and having some decent success with him.
Which is wild to me.
Yeah, like, he's a lot of fun to play. For anybody out there who's never put that big old model on the table, it's a super centerpiece model. It looks amazing. The sculpt job on that is just awesome. But it's a lot of fun when all your people have this extra power and you're able to do all these different things. And he starts rolling attacks, and you're like, "Oh no, I recaled, and I've got 6 skulls, and that's 6 damage." You know, it just like feels so good.
He's also just a cool model, honestly. I don't have any intention of playing this guy, but I'm gonna buy the model as a painting, as like a painting thing, because I really want to. Honestly, that's like my big motivation.
Yeah, and I think with Hellfire going away, it opens up for a lot of skill expression for him, for Mephisto, for Dracula to do like these all-in-one soup lists or very easy duels, because he could just take anybody. So
Yeah.
I think this guy's sitting right in the center of playable, maybe even towards the top of playable.
Bold take. All right, in front of or behind mutants? I'm not putting him in front of at the very, very front. I refuse. To kill me, Shane.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I find it difficult in this section, probably in front of Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think their win rate is as good as it should be, though. So I'm totally biased.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. We're biased, angry, red neckbeard nerds on the internet.
Fair.
People can argue with us in the comments, you know? So come at us, the internet. All right, what do you want to do next?
Next, we got some defenders.
Yep. So let's talk about where these... my buddy plays defenders as well, so I see these guys a decent amount on the table. Where do you think they are sitting at this point, 6-10-25 time of recording, Mr. Shane?
I think if we recorded this 3 weeks ago, my opinion would have been a lot different than it is right now. I think the glow up to the Strange leadership is extremely significant. I've seen it a bunch of times now, and just handing out the hex condition all the time is just so good, man.
It's not bad, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
in addition
to his personal
as a person who has had their shit hexed a lot, you don't want your shit hexed.
Yeah, in addition to his personal glow ups, I think it's good. Plus, you look at the list here, and it's going to be a lot of the familiar stuff that we said with Avengers that's really good. You got Luke Cage, you got Hulk, you've got Shang-Chi, you've got Namor. There's just so much going on here. You've got Immortal Hulk. I don't know that you're taking him. I think some people do. Man-Thing's another really solid model.
I really like the new Man-Thing.
Yeah, and it's an awesome sculpt.
It's very, very efficient, in my opinion, for what it's doing, right? It's like really, really aggressively costed, does a lot of good shit, and looks dope.
Yeah, so, I think you've got a lot of good models. I think their ability to turn off a secure, especially in the pay-to-win meta where you lose securing it, so you need to go back and interact with it again if you want to take it. It changes so much of the math on your victory points that I think they're in a really good place. So are they playable? Are they pretty good?
They're probably pretty good.
Yeah,
right? In front of Asgard's.
Yeah, I think we need to put them in P good, even though in May they were 21st on the list.
Yeah, rough.
But
I think the glow up is real, and that's part of why we have these discussions, right? Is to frame things contextually from moment in time to moment in time. So we're at the current moment in time, and I think they probably go one slot in front of Asgard.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think they're up there.
Unless you think they're behind Asgard, I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Right? No, that's fine. That's totally fine. I don't know. Once we get into where does stuff sit inside of each one of the categories, I think I have a little bit of a harder time because I love some of these so much.
You got
My
commitment
personal
issues,
virus
bro.
got-
You're like, it becomes emotional for you, man. You know, like it's
Exactly.
you gotta let go, dude. It becomes emotional. You gotta just let go, man. You gotta just let your cold logic steer you here, Mr. Shane. And that being said, with cold logic steering us unequivocally for these perfect opinions on the internet, let's talk about obviously the crew that has the best movies of all time, and I'm not biased towards at all, and is amazing. Let's talk about Guardians and where they're at right now in the meta.
You need to stop with that plucky attitude.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy so much. Peter Quill is the man. And they have a raccoon with a laser cannon. Come on, man. Come on. All right, yeah. So what's going on with these space Muppets?
I think they're playable. I think the meta shifted, and people are still trying to find the good balance between their killability with their durability and how they're functioning inside of the new Crisis pack. Pay to flips are not something I think they're super duper excited about.
Yeah, I agree.
But you've got a lot of really good models, right? Like Agent Venom, really good. Has some Predators, so he's got to watch out. He's not in every game piece. Bill, really good. Two threats in Nebula and Rocket. You've got Yondu, who I think is a good glow up for them. He came out last year.
Yeah, and Nova, which I don't think you're probably playing Nova hyper competitively most of the time, right? Unless
I mean, when Nova has good games, he has really good games. When he doesn't, he doesn't. I mean, he's a super duper slot machine.
Yeah, and he feels overcosted when he has bad games, I feel like, has been my experience with him.
Yeah, when you're making one big attack every turn, it's like... Ugh.
Yeah. I definitely have enjoyed playing with Yondu more, but it's cool to have Nova. I like him as character. My thought on these guys is that I agree with you. Like, they're still looking to reforge their identity in the current meta, but they have access to a lot of efficient models that can do pretty good damage. And like generally, the way I've built my list is that they can generally punch up pretty decently, and then they have like stability models like for board state control, like good old Bill, right? And if you want to throw like a 6-cost Hulk in there, he plays pretty well with Peter Quill's ability, like leadership, and having like an efficient zoom around the board, shoot things 3-cost model. As a leader, I'm a pretty big fan of. But I think like end of the day, they probably just maybe slot one in front of Brotherhood. Unplayable, right? Because they're playable. There's not like...
Yeah, I think they're playable. So the loss of their ability to remove conditions really sucks.
Yeah.
The crew of Milano was really good, and I think they're still suffering from, having that out there. In the Apocalypse meta, having that card would have been really good for them.
It would have been really fucking nice. Yeah.
So...
Yep.
So I think they still have some Predators.
Do you think it's top of could use some... Oh my god, don't do it to me, Shane. You think it's top of could use some love?
Yeah, I think they just need one more card, man. I think there's some card. I love them. They were my first faction. They're my most games played. I love these guys. They're either at top of could use some love or bottom of playable, I think.
I have a hard time putting them in could use some love when we've put Brotherhood in playable, but like, whatever, it's fine. All right, so what do you think are like? Give me like a small handful of models that you're gonna see on the table from these guys. You think, like traditionally?
So I think you see Beta Ray Bill, probably every game. I think you see Rocket most games. I think you see Nebula a decent amount. I like Drax. The community appears to be pretty split on him. CGR still has a really good place. I think Yondu has solidified his place there. So I think that's kind of the core that you're building around. And obviously Peter. Star-Lord's leadership is an amazing leadership.
My take here is that like most of my lists start like Peter as the leader, Nebula, Rocket, and then you take like Yondu, and then you build from there basically, right?
Yeah.
And we love you. We're sorry, Guardians. Maybe one day you'll get back up. We believe in you. Hellfire Club next.
Yeah, man.
It's so sad.
They,
sad, man.
They needed a nerf, right? Like it was a problem. After a while, I got so sick of seeing them that I started playing them.
Yeah, I was gonna say you fucking played them.
Yeah, and I went like 18-0 or something with them in competitive play. And
It's
then
pretty
they
rough.
got nerfed, and I think I've played them once since in like a pickup game. Look, they got some interesting stuff still going on, right? Angel and Archangel are fine, and you could probably figure out some spot for them. Psylocke is a really good model. Mystique is a really good model. Storm's playable. The range 3, size 2 throw is good, and then with Emma's leadership, you can fund some stuff there. Like I think I don't know. There's a spot for them. I think if somebody like dedicated some real time to them, that they could probably get them up to playable, or could get them up to could use some help. But I think right now that they've got to be dog water. And
are they better or worse than Thanos and Co?
So statistically, they're worse. In May,
they're probably functionally a little bit better, just because they're technically they have access to like lots of tools, right? Theoretically.
Yeah, well, I mean, the leadership changed so that they can't take everything, and they can only take their...
Right, but I'm saying comparative to, like, our boy who has, like, what, like, how big is the Black Order?
Yeah, it's like 7 models versus 12 or whatever.
Sure, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and like I said, I read off some really good models there, right? Like Mystique's a good model, Psylocke's
I'm
a good
fucking
model.
putting them in front.
I think the Angel, Archangel are totally fine models. Sunspot, I think, is in a little bit of a weird place. Storm, I think, is a fine model. She's definitely not an every game piece. But I think you could probably build a solid core out of Emma, Psylocke, Mystique. That's an 11-point core, and then you can start splashing out. Probably totally fine.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just unequivocally nowhere near as good as it used to be, basically. But it's probably still. But then, do you think it's the bottom of could use some love then, given that like you have a relatively solid-ish 11-point core, or do you think it's just like are you just like emotionally distraught right now throwing these guys in D tier?
They have no real tactics cards. I think a couple of tactics cards gets them back up a little bit. In May, they had 19 games, and again, compared to Avengers, who had 592. In those 19 games, they had a 24% win percentage.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah. Listen, I'm playing devil's advocate here a little bit. I'm just trying to,
I believe you could put them slap at the bottom. While I think there might be some decent tech there, I'm not sure the tech's worth...
That you think the juice ain't worth the squeeze, basically.
Yeah, I think Emma's a fine model, but now that her leadership isn't universal and needs to have an affiliation tied to it, that, she could use some love. We haven't heard, there's some speculation that some of the upcoming releases are rich people and would be in Hellfire Club. I don't read mutant comics as much as I should, so I don't know as much about the Hellfire Club. But that could certainly help them. Like if a Lady Mastermind or somebody comes in, then there might be some hope there.
Yeah, I think Lady Mastermind in lore could potentially be a Hellfire Club attendee. Or like, it wouldn't shock me if she had that label. Alright, so I mean we'll put him at the top of Dogwater, because like Emma Frost is cool. Like I guess that's what I got. Alright, we're on to Hydra. Right? The green and yellow. Green and yellow. Yeah. Where are we at with these boys?
Quite how the song goes, but okay.
Yeah, it's like black and yellow, except green and yellow, green and yellow. I put it down from the whip to the wayside. Yeah, it's like that song. All right, where are we at with these boys?
I think Hydra's in a really good spot. They have seen a decent amount of success. Sleeper Agent is still a really good card and allows you to do some things with Hulks and Bills. If your opponent can't play Brace, like Hulk doesn't need to attack if he's just throwing size 4s at people all day. and like holding an extract or 2 or 3 and being on a point, you know. So I think they're really good. I think they've got some glow up with Abomination.
Abomination's efficient. I like Abomination because I play him in Criminal, because I play Criminal Syndicate because I just have the models.
Yeah.
I like that model a lot for his cost and like how he punches, you know.
Yeah, he doesn't have the action compression until he gets the Spender online, which gives him the place. So when you're playing against hard control, he can feel a little bit derpy. But if you play him in there, I don't think he's in every matchup person, but I think his addition gave them some extra options that now your opponent has to think about. I think, we talked about Red Skull Master Hydra. Not only is he a really good model, and grunts are stupid and probably, not my favorite thing that ever happened in the game. His leadership is also good. Getting him power for standing or holding a thing, it is really good. And then like you've got Spider-Woman, she's good.
Spider-Woman's really good.
You've got Zemo,
also really good.
So like I think you've got a solid core there, and that's what I would consider the core. Strucker's a fine model. Bob, obviously you've got a 2-point dude who like does some stuff. But
where do you think they I mean, you get you're just for context so that the viewers at home can follow along. Shane's entire collection is painted as one giant Hydra organization. If we can find the picture of it, we'll put it up there. But it's just a massive shelf of Hydra painted MCP models, which is kind of why I was laughing to myself the whole time we were doing this, and that kind of why I did the song when we started this. That was like an ode to Shane specifically. We'll dig up a picture or try to of Shane's collection and just put it here so everyone knows that I'm not just actually crazy.
Yeah, I'll see if I can take a panoramic and show you what OCD looks like.
Yeah, like true adult OCD looks like. All right, cool. Where do you want to put these guys on a relative scale here, Mr. Shane?
I think they're top of playable.
Okay. I would say think, potentially even backup good, but top of playable seems reasonable to me too.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody argued with me that they were pretty good, I don't think I would totally scoff at that.
Yeah, they're kind of like on the teeter of that, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, they're right in between.
Yeah, and it looks a little bit more it looks more balanced this way, so that's how we're gonna do it. Come at us, the internet. All right, what do you want to talk about next, Mr. Shane?
We got some moon-based people.
The Moon Knights. That's their unofficial faction term, is the Moon Knights.
Why isn't Moon Knight part of the
Moon Knights? The Moon Knights from the Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
I don't have.
Do you not know that show?
Seen that.
It's like, I am Sheikh Sula, the Mick Ruler. You want a shake? I'll bring it to you. It was like a cartoon that aired at midnight for unattended early pre-tweens on Adult Swim in the 90s into the early aughts.
Yeah, I feel like I'm too old for that.
You're like, nah, dude, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I have no idea what's happening, but I'm glad you enjoy it, Doug.
It was one of my favorite shows growing up, basically. Don't worry about it.
All my friends who smoke a lot of weed are really into it, so I get it.
Yeah, right? See? I'm sure you've seen memes of the show at least, right?
No, for sure.
Okay, let's actually talk about where the Moon's royalty is right now in the current meta. Where are we at, Shane?
So I think this is our first triple S super duper sexy faction. The new box for them,
insane. The new box is insane,
dude. It's just a whole bunch of bangers.
Yeah.
I've even got a local who's been running Maximus and the Maximus leadership and doing really well. So everything that's in that box is just awesome. And you've got Beast, amazing model, just coming in and randomly, he married Crystal. She's probably not worth playing a lot. But yeah, both Black Bolts are really good. Karnak's good. Gorgon's good. Quicksilver, like we said, is a really good role player. And I think that's just a solid core. I think Black Bolt's leadership enables some really degenerate shit.
It's new King Black Bolt you're talking about, right?
The original Black Bolt leadership, the one where once per turn, anybody, not just the active character, but anybody can spend a power and give it to somebody else who's within range 3 of them.
Oh, and you're saying that enables the newer models that are all busted as hell, basically, is what you're saying.
So like you can get models with all sorts of charges or spenders and stuff online. So then like you look at Gorgon. Gorgon's got the 4-cost range 3 spender that auto throw a size 4 or less short and staggers on a wild.
It's pretty good.
So you put your Hulk on the center line. I funnel 4 power to that dude. He walks once, does a range 3 attack, and throws you away and staggers you.
Yep, super efficient.
Yep. So that's my 3-cost character doing that.
Yeah. You're like 5 or 6-cost characters.
And and he's got a charge and a taunt. Like,
really dumb.
I wouldn't doubt it if we see that guy get a little bit of a bad touch later on.
Yeah. Well, I think it's inevitable that we will see some level of adjustment to some of these models, right? So
for sure.
Like, yeah.
And I think King Black Bolt is an interesting fine model. The problem is original Black Bolt costs 1 less, has an amazing leadership, and is also a good model and is a bodyguard. So like he's just got so much going for him that King Black Bolt kind of gets pushed to the side.
I like King Black Bolt. I thought you were originally talking. I like that model. I think he's cool, but like I concede that what you're saying makes sense and is probably correct. Honestly.
Yeah, and I think if his name was King Schmack Schmolt
and could be fielded along King Black Bolt,
Smoltagon, then he would see some play.
Then he would see some play, but right now he won't. Yeah. Got it.
So,
yeah. You're probably right.
I mean, I just think the glow up to Black Bolt from when was that adjustment? Like last year, I think. Was good enough, and then there's a whole bunch.
And then he got all of these new models, right? That like with the new box that are just like ridiculously awesome. So I feel like that's what is coming together here to like put these into our first very sexy tier, like sub faction, basically, right?
Yeah, and then the teleport tactics card, when you can teleport your whole team range 3,
real good.
It's really good, man. When he can teleport himself range 3 and start making his range 4 attacks, some real degenerate shit is Lockjaw activates next to him as your first activation, passes a power to him, teleports him up, walks onto a back point. Then he goes next and spends the 2 power to teleport himself within range 3. So now he's gotten 2 range 3 teleports, and he can attack a model standing on the deployment line that hasn't activated yet.
So I think we tipped our hand a little bit on this one, but like basically the core models that you guys will see is like most of the models from the new box, effectively. Right?
Yeah, I think Gorgon, I think Karnak, I think Lockjaw is going to be in every list. I think Beast should be around, and Quicksilver should be around, and some role players. Maximus, I think, is flavor to taste, but I've seen some people doing some really good stuff with him, so I definitely wouldn't count him out.
Yeah, basically our take here is play them while they're unnerfed. Play them while you got them unnerfed, boyos and ladies, because some adjustment is probably coming at some point, right? You figure?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay. All right, who we got next?
Next we got Mephisto and the Legion of the Lost.
Yeah.
This is a tough one for me, because he's got a really cool kit. When you read all the stuff on his card, it's awesome. And you've got this old Hellfire style affiliation where you can just kind of pull in anybody.
Anyone you want, literally.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I have found, like...
cool in theory, underwhelming in practice. Which kind of be your punchline here.
He's better in other leaderships than he is under his own.
Yeah.
Which makes it really weird. And he's got power problems, so... he would much rather be somewhere where, he's getting...
Explain what you mean so that the internet at home can... What do you mean by has power problems? Can you expound on that?
Yeah, so, like... You need the Devil's Deal tokens. But you're spending them all the time.
Yep.
And your way to get them back is like spending a little bit of power to get them back, or um, to make the Infernal Bargain attack, which isn't giving you power, and it's only a range 2 attack, and it only does 1 damage.
Yeah.
And you don't get the Devil's Deal token unless you do damage.
It's a coalescence of super meh.
Yeah,
right?
like you look at it first, and the first thing everybody does is like, "Oh God, this guy can make 3 attacks a turn. That's awesome."
Yeah,
and
that's
then
that's
once
the,
you
that's
start,
the top end, assuming everything goes well, and discounting the fact that from an efficiency standpoint, things can get a little rough from practical application and usage, right? You figure that's fair?
yeah, no, that's totally fair. And like, he's got some cool cards, and they're really flavorful. They don't. I found personally they didn't hold up all that well. They were more like you would take 1 a game when you really, I think, when you first look at them, you're like, oh, I want to take all 3 of them every game, and I want to make these bargains with my friends and
But
jump in there. And I
are like actually good, really.
Yeah, I think flavor wise, they nailed the whole like dark lawyer vibe, but I don't think it really rolled out in practice.
Yeah. So you figure this guy goes like, could use some love 1 slot behind Guardians, or you think backer?
I mean,
he's definitely more playable than Hellfire Club, for sure.
Yeah, and they might even be like towards the bottom of playable. Like,
you want to put him in the front of could use some love because he's just kind of cool and has like a flavorful concept, basically.
Yeah, and I think it'll probably be, spoiler alert, Dracula's sitting there right there with him, because I do think there's a lot of value in being able to take anybody you want, right? There's 200 plus models in your faction. That's
and whenever a new model comes out, you can fold them in, right? So technically, he is benefiting from every release cycle of the game, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
I tend to think of these types of factions where like the right person with the right type of creative idea hitting at the right time in the meta could show up to a tournament and probably potentially do okay with this type of guy, like because the net that you can cast is so wide, right? So I always root for these types of factions, like how the old Hellfire Club used to be, like that shit was cool for me.
I just think his barrier to entry with the amount of practice you have to put in to get really proficient with him is gonna hold him back.
I also think a big point is what you talked about at the beginning of this, where he has efficiency issues as a model in terms of like how he operates on the table. And to me, that's a detractor that's going to keep you out of like playable or P good type tiers. Like, like you really want like efficient base interactions and play loops with your core model, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Midnight Suns next. Sorry. Any like core standout models. Obviously, you can take whatever he wants, but like any core like auto takes almost like that, or things that you come to mind when you think of his list?
I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of the good models already tonight, so I think you're going to see some Shang-Chi's. I think you're going to see some Namors.
Probably Black Cat.
I think you're going to see your Black Cats. Like, there's just, and he gives the power to people, and he puts out the Incinerate. So like some of your punchy models like a Voodoo who want to like just suck up all the power and make the opponent miserable are going to be pretty good.
Like vanilla beat stick Zemo, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Midnight Suns. My buddy plays this faction as well, so I see a fair amount of Midnight Suns. Where the Suns at in the meta? They got a cool new box with the lady with a crazy magic revolver and a swampy thing,
Yeah.
Recently.
I feel like AMG did a disservice to Elsa because they.
Her model's cool, bro. What do you mean?
It's a cool model. She has the exact same problems that Blade has.
Yeah.
And, the lower energy defense. And,
you're talking about the rule.
She's got the supernatural senses, so she can only modify her physical and mystic defense, not the energy, just like Blade. And so they both got the same issues. The problem is Blade has one of the top 3 or 4 leaderships in the game.
So good. Especially on my buddy takes 7-cost Hulk with him.
Yeah.
And Blink moves him around the board, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and like
just a ton of movement on that base.
Yeah,
I love
man.
it.
And
So
then
good.
like Immortal Hulk starts doing like once he gets all the power and he can do like his dream turn.
Yeah,
where he
just
like
wrecks entire crews by himself.
Yeah,
you thought 6-cost Hulk was bad. Hold my beer for 7-cost Hulk with blink movement. Holy yikes!
Yeah, bump, leap.
Yeah, it's gross.
Attack. Midnight Suns forever to attack again. Every attack, you're throwing people all over the place. Like
it's awesome.
That play pattern becomes really degenerate. But the Monsters box was a huge blow up for them. I don't think you see Frank. Werewolf's in some lists. I'm sure some people are going to hate me for saying you don't see him. I don't think you see him. And the reason for that is Man-Thing and Kantu are amazing.
Yeah.
They're 2 really good models. You got Wong, who's a serviceable 2 threat. You got Voodoo, who's a really good model. You got Black Cat, who we've talked about several times now. You've got Iron Fist, who I think, because of Heroes for Hire, needs to make some lists and be brought in for the tech when you need it. And you've got Blade, who that leadership is one of the most fun leaderships, man.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
He's should we just, I guess, for those people that don't know, do you want to just briefly just give context, because we've really we've hit that button a bunch here. Do you want to just let the internet know kind of what's going on with that for those that may not be in the...
Yeah, so Bump in the Night is you spend 1 power and place within one of your current position. And 1 is only 1 inch, but then you get your base size. So especially on the big fatties like Immortal Hulk, you're effectively teleporting like 3 inches.
Yeah.
And,
it's you got like tons of blink movement basically, and you can use that blink movement to enable ridiculously large fatties, of which you come preloaded with a 7-coster that just wrecks entire crews basically.
Yeah, no, and it just like, and it's a lot of fun because the movement where you were just out of attacking somebody,
you're sure not anymore.
You get pushed. You get pushed short. Oh, oops! I bumped. Now I'm back at it, man.
Yep.
You know, like there's a lot of cool play patterns there. I enjoyed my super secret splash was Juggernaut. I really enjoyed Juggernaut with him because he just goes like all over the place.
I mean, these guys they've got to be in P good, right? Like somewhere there. Where do you want to put them? I assume.
Yeah, it's so funny because their ranking last month was in 14. They were only 48%, but I feel like they got to be P good. I feel like there's so much juice there that
I agree.
There were 400 games, so maybe there was some slack in their popularity, something. Elsa had 86 games with a 32% win rate, so that's.
But it also, I mean, I don't know. It could be, yeah, I don't know. I want to defend Elsa just because she's awesome and I love her, but yeah, I don't know. You're probably just mostly playing Blade if you're playing like hyper competitively right now, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think, anybody who's trying to go to events to sweep the event is probably playing a lot more Blade than Elsa.
And if you're bringing Blade, you're probably bringing like 7-cost Hulk or something similar to that to just like plunk people in the face. All right, you mean figure like in front of Asgard, in front of...
because of their win rate, I think they got to be at the bottom of P good.
Yeah, because we're like basically biased stroking them up into it as a team, as a duo here. Yeah, fair enough.
And if you look, there's a couple of really good tournament players out there right now who are top 3ing events with them on a regular basis. So I think there's definitely some justification there. They were always going to be popular. They're like the 2nd or 3rd most played affiliation, 3rd I think.
Yeah.
And it's because they're cool, right? Like everybody wants to play, psychic vampires and living mummies and stuff, right?
I mean,
that's
dope.
pretty cool.
Midnight Suns are cool, honestly. Like I love Midnight Suns. If my like buddy like that I live really close to and play a lot of games with in person didn't literally own this faction, I would play them and own the faction.
Yeah.
To be honest.
No, they're super duper fun.
Okay, I mean, do you want to give us like I think we talked about a handful of models, but like Do you want to give us like a small handful of like commonly seen Midnight Sun models that people are going to run into on the table when they see these guys?
Yeah, I think you're seeing Mummy. I think you're seeing Mummy is probably in every game piece. I think Blade's in every game piece.
It's hard to say that 7-cost Hulk is in every game piece, but I feel like when they can take him, they will, because it works so well with Blade. Right?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of situations you don't take him.
You mean because he's a 7-cost model? So
yeah, I think he's a huge liability against somebody else who's also going to be super tall, and you might not have priority against. Because those lists are also usually extremely aggressive and are going to be able to delete him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or weird anti-healing tech. Not that there's a lot of it out there, but Maverick does exist. Probably not in any lists, but he does exist.
The model is there. The model probably there. Not on any benches, but we're told that it does exist in the meta as a model that you can legally play. All right, is there any other common Midnight Suns models you think you're going to see? Okay.
I think Wong comes out of the box a lot, and I think Cat and Voodoo, depending on the extracts, are staple pieces, and they're like even staple splashes in places.
I think you just see Cat a lot in Midnight Suns also because she's good at what she does. All right, cool. That makes sense. We got New Mutants next, I think.
Yeah, Magic saw a glow up, but the leadership is still a tactics card, which hurts. Her cast of characters is really weird, man. Like X-23, good model. Warlock, serviceable model. Shadowcat is a little bit of a slot machine. I don't think you want to bring Emma. We talked about it before. I don't think Sunspot's all that fantastic. Cable is good, but at this point, why aren't you playing Cable's leadership? The leadership ability lets you teleport, which is really cool, but they just need like a little something extra, man.
I mean, a lot of the models you just listed off are good playable models, but yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like,
yeah, there's a bunch of role players in there, and a bunch of role players doesn't make a faction.
Yeah, but they're good role players. I mean, I would put these guys at the front of Could Use Some Love, to be honest, probably.
Yeah, and Magic is a little bit, she's a little bit squishy, right?
Yeah.
Even with the glow up with the +1 health last month, I just don't see that making her up there, and that's why their win rate's not that great, right? They're low played faction with a pretty low win rate, and I think they could use some love. But I think there are one or two models. I think they need a staple. They
need like a staple. They need like a glue type consistency model.
Yep. That
takes all of these role players that are in faction and allows them to build in and out of scenarios. I think is my take here.
Absolutely, that sounds like a fantastic breakdown of exactly what their issue is.
Yeah, so like I put them at the front of Could Use Some Love because like like they get like a new even like mini box or whatever, and they get like 2 relevant build around 3 costs. Like I feel like these guys are like right back in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, I don't know about the mutants coming out. I don't think that.
Yeah, I'm saying theoretically.
No, I don't think that any of them are in the. Are going to be in New Mutants. I don't think that any of the stuff that's slated to come out is like.
Yeah, you don't think they're getting anything imminently.
Yeah, but again, I don't read mutant comics, so I'm a bad person.
All right, we got the big giant death robots next, I guess.
Yeah, big giant death robots are
okay.
Let's. We don't need to talk about them.
Do you want to just put them in dark water, like behind Black Order, I guess?
Yeah, right? No, they are 100% bottom of the game. AMG knows they're bottom of the game. AMG came out and basically said without saying that they're the bottom of the game. And next February, they're going to be amazing. So stock up on the boxes, get them painted up, have them ready to go for February. Because with the track record that they've got, they're going to be really good come next February.
I think the most relevant thing I have to say about this faction is that I am finishing off right now my destroyed New York downtown city table, and the next table that I'm making is a Sentinel factory table. So I actually am literally about to buy a bunch of Sentinels, but I'm gonna clip them apart and make them into terrain and stuff.
Nice.
Because that I committed that I want two like really nicely painted MCP tables that I can just like have, and I'm almost done fully painting my like downtown generic like destroy building New York terrain. And the one like I said before, right? Like a huge part of my childhood was the '97 X-Men.
Yep.
Was the '97 X-Men cartoon, and I just remember like vividly the Sentinel Factory component episodes, and like I don't know if you guys remember, but like the intro is like part of it is like and like Wolverine like does the claw thing and they run past the fence and then you can see the Sentinels coming. It's like fucking dope, and I just love that shit. So that is what I'm doing and why I'm so passionate about this sub faction is because I'm gonna cut it up with a hacksaw and make it into terrain. So
I mean,
we'll
it seems
see, I
totally
guess.
fine to me, man.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. All right, now we have the infamous team that you did a 3-hour video on when it dropped, I guess. You got APOC and Buddies next, I guess.
Yeah, I think, my opinion, they are the best design that AMG has ever done. I don't know that AMG could do any better than this design. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to play. There's a lot of space for skill expression there. They're also very good. They've got some middling to good models who, some of which have gotten glow ups, who get these powers that make them amazing models. Yeah, like I couldn't sit here and gush long enough about the Servants of Apocalypse, which is funny because I haven't played them since
like, you like
October,
did a bunch
whatever.
of theory craft on them and did that massive ass episode. Omar from our server has been playing a bunch of APOC. I played against him relatively recently on an APOC list and he just fucking schmagled me with it.
Yeah,
it's hell of a model.
Last fall I did 100 games of Apocalypse in like a month and a half.
The month of Apocalypse.
And it kind of burned me out on it, but I had a really good win record with it, and it was a lot. Most importantly, it was a lot of fun. And since then, Gambit's gotten a glow up. Colossus has gotten a glow up.
Yep.
Toad, whatever.
Is good.
He's like, still good.
Is good.
like
really good.
The nerf was perfectly fine. I am happy with what they did with him because it puts him in line to the role that I was always playing him at anyway. Yeah. So it doesn't really bother me all that much.
Yeah.
Magic saw the minor glow up. So
so what do you think? Do you think it's very sexy or P good?
Oh, I think it's very sexy. I think.
Do you think it's sexier than the Mooninites?
God, man, are they the best thing in the game?
I don't know. I'm like probably right now, and they're both very sexy tier, right? Like the question is Apocalypse the sexiest or are the Mooninites the sexiest in your opinion right now? That's the hard decision that we have to ask you.
All right, I'm gonna say the sexiest thing isn't up there yet.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say the Servants of Apocalypse go in front of the Inhumans.
You know, that's why we pay you the fictitious internet dollars to make these hard-hitting decisions, Shane. So, we're just going to accept that.
You sent me a thumbs up just yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. That's worth like a little bit of internet clout, I suppose. Not a lot, obviously, but all right. Talk to us a little bit about like some of the core models that at least you run, or in your opinion, like are pretty foundational to building out these lists, I guess.
So I think you're always going to see Toad. Toad, still good.
Yep.
Psylocke, while she's got a couple of problems, still really good. Colossus, I think, is going to be everywhere. Beast is going to be everywhere. I think if you go watch that 3-hour video I did, I don't think my opinions have changed all that much since then.
Even with the changes to the meta updates and stuff, you think? Even
with that, I mean, maybe Gambit's gotten a little bit better, but other than that, like I don't think Magic has changed a lot. I think she's still really good going and teleporting a guy range 3 away, and then sitting near back points and stuff. Like she's not a run in your face model. I think Colossus has only gotten better, and
I think a lot of his toys have improved, and he has a lot of viable toys also, which I think is part of why he's good, honestly.
Yep.
And like he himself is very good and centrally themed, which is awesome. So
I feel like you could load up the 17 models that are in his faction and
hit a dice roller and get good models out of it.
hit a dice roll and get 10 of them. And maybe you've got Mr. Sinister and Sabretooth, which I guess some people still play.
I love Mr. Sinister. It sucks that he's like underwhelming to me because was as a kid one of my favorite X-Men foes. I love that guy and his model is so cool. It hurts my soul, man. It hurts my soul.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't assembled Sinister yet, paint him before putting the cape on. Just pro tip.
Pro tip: his cape sucks.
Pro tip:
right.
The cape is awful.
Okay, we got the Shield Boyos next, I suppose. Nick Fury and Co.
I think they're in a good spot. They're probably sitting near the top of the pretty good style. I think.
Do you think they're better than Criminal, or worse? Is a question. Or do you think they're better or worse than Avengers?
Man, I don't know. I think those three are all really close.
I would put him in front of Avengers, behind Criminal, but I'm also biased towards Kingpin because I fucking love Kingpin and I play actively Criminals. But
no, I mean that seems pretty solid to me.
I think there's arguments. I think the real answer, honestly, is that the three of these together kind of represent, at least in my mind, like you look at the three of those factions, specifically Criminals, Fury and Co, and Avengers, and it's like these are all pretty solid factions with relatively decent game plans a lot of the time and access to like pretty good models, right? Like I kind of see that chunk there as the front end of the bus so far, at least in this tier, in my opinion, unless you feel differently.
No, I think you're spot on there.
Yeah. Anything, so like, I guess then, given that that's the scenario, talk the dog. You're in the tier list, but you cannot destroy the couch while we're doing this, ma'am. She wanted to be a part of the video, obviously.
Clearly.
So, do you think that they're, like, given that that's where we're at for Fury and Co., do you think that there's anything that differentiates them specifically? Like, in current meta?
I think Namor right now is one of the Terror 5s that everybody's seeing as a splash everywhere. You're giving him a leadership. You're giving him a good leadership. And Nick Fury is still backing him up with Eye in the Sky. So to me, Eye in the Sky was always Nick Fury's leadership. Like he's got the thing that's printed on his card, but Eye in the Sky is better. And the fact that it refreshes in that faction, so it's once per turn, is really good, man. Moving somebody short away from an attacker to either get cover or fully get out of the attack, especially if it was like a charge or something where they already spent the power that they're not getting back and they can't use that charge again, is really good. And you couple that with the defensive portion of the Namor leadership, and you slap Namor around, who just literally zips all over the table, makes everybody drop all their stuff, and vacuums it up and moves everywhere and does the stuff that Namor does.
Yeah, I haven't played Namor in this, but I play him. I played him when he first came out in Web Warrior lists a lot. I love that model. He's really fun. He's a little pricey, but he's really fun. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's never going to do 100 damage, right? Because he's just got 6 die, 7 die. So,
but that's not his full point. Like his kit is so cool in terms of what it opens up from a playline perspective for you, that I'm okay with seeing a reduction in just net damage output because the versatility package that he brings is fucking dope. Honestly.
Yeah, for sure. So. And you got 2-threat Widow in here. Always a staple, right? Mm-hmm. Spectacular Spider-Man. Here again, we're looking at a guy size 3 or less, range 3 for 3 cost, throw it short. And just his defensive tech, the impact webbing, the ability to place himself, so he's got the mobility, like just solid model. Spider-Woman, we talked about before, the ability to steal the extracts and stuff, really good. I think you've got yourself a good faction here.
Yeah, shocker when you have access to a bunch of good models, a relatively cohesive game plan, and you fit relatively well into the current meta, you end up with like the front end of the bus on P good, right? Like I think that's where we're landing here.
Yeah, no, for sure. for sure. I think they're sitting right at that front end of the bus. P good. And I
Uh,
mean, you've got some tactics cards here that were banned when they were generic cards, right?
yeah,
So that
yeah,
tells you they're pretty good.
yeah. They've got good synergy. They've got good tactics too. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. And it's interesting going through this thought experiment because, you know, like you and I both follow the meta pretty closely, but I haven't like, you know, to think about like the top end of the game that is reasonable is kind of where I see P good, right? And I feel like some of the stuff in Very Sexy like might have some attention paid to it at some point, right? So
Yep.
to me, this feels like the fair end of the top end of the game is kind of like how I view what we're talking about right now. Is that you think you kind of agree there too?
No, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
All right. Then we got Spider Foes. Let's talk about some faction made up completely of 3 costs and Rhino. Where are they at right now in the meta?
Spider foes are so interesting, man. They, according to Soren, they gained 11 spots this month.
Which is cool. I love these guys. I always root for them, honestly. They're a cool faction. I love the concept of them.
They got some of the most characterful models out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you are looking for flavor, these dudes are Flavor Town. Like, you know, they're just fantastic when it comes to that. You've got some really good models in here. You know, your Rhino is really good. Shocker is surprisingly well. Mysterio does surprisingly well. Lizard has been a baller for forever. But they're just solid and hardy. Does the Carnage glow up work for them? I don't know. Jury's still out, but Surprise Webhead is a really good card. And, you know, giving that guy an extra attack from range 3 to be able to get his Paint the Town red, you know, just try to push him over the top so he can full heal. Like, if that guy's taking 5, 6, 7 damage, just erasing that.
I like the movement. There's other pieces too that I really like. Like Lizard is really good, at least for me so far. I've really liked Lizard. I really like Vulture. The movement that Vulture has is cool. And I talked about him a little bit before, but like I like Kraven as a piece. He's pretty efficient, at least from an offensive output standpoint for me. Like these guys are fun, you know. And I usually play him as the new what's the newer version of Doc Ock? What's his official title? I always forget.
The Sinister Scientist.
Yeah, I like that guy a lot. I usually run him. I probably should try Norman, Mr. Osborn more, but I always find myself pulled to Mr. Sinister Scientist guy. He's cool. I like these guys. To me, they've always been like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like these guys, you know how I was like 3 is the new 4 in terms of cost. You know what I mean? You know how I was like kind of trying to make that point earlier. Like this faction embodies that to me, right? Like you've got a wide variety of fairly efficiently costed 3 drops that if you can string them together, they're not going to be like the fightiest out there, but usually they have a pretty efficient kit, each one individually, and then they've got some really cool tricks from a team cards tactics perspective that like you can do some good stuff with. And like I think where I'm at personally, because again, like I play these guys a decent amount, is like, are they overtly as powerful as like I'm gonna walk across the table and just freaking kill you? Like, no, that's not like really their game, right? But they have a solid middle ground and they've got really good kits mostly across the board. And at least for me, like it's some of the most fun that I have playing MCPs when I put these guys on the table. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they play all aspects of the game, right? They got some terrain throws, they got some people throws, they got some pushes, they got some dice reductions. They've got a lot of different movement tricks. They've got an extract steal. So the fact that Kat is not in the faction makes me sad. But
yeah,
I always take her anyway.
Yeah, you just take her anyway, right? Like at least I do.
She doesn't get surprise webhead, but that's okay.
It's fine.
And I think both leaderships are viable. However you want to play it, a little bit more defensive, a little bit more offensive. I think these guys are pretty good.
I think they're like either right behind. I think they're like right behind Hydra in playable. That's where I would put them, unless you think. I mean, or pretty good, like maybe in front of Midnight Suns, maybe like somewhere in that range, somewhere, or in front of Asgard, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they just had one really good month, so I'm not sure that like the pretty good tier is where they belong. I think a lot of people slept on the tactics cards that came in their new box.
Yeah, yeah, they have some really fun tactics cards that I really enjoy. I mean, my take here is that they're either at the front of playable or somewhere towards the back of pretty good.
Why don't we put them at the front of playable?
Okay.
Even
Yeah, I think that's
though
fair.
their slot this past month was fifth for the month, I think maybe that was a little
You
bit
think it was
high for them.
you think it was a statistical over for performance in your opinion?
Yeah.
Basically? I mean, they're like we're saying, they're very playable. They're good, but let's check back in and see how they do. Maybe next time they could find themselves moving on up. You think that's fair to say?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the past couple of months has been really weird because there have been several team tournaments both in America and Europe over the past couple of months, and with the way the Highlander format works for team tournaments, it totally skews some of these faction numbers.
Yeah, I
there
agree.
are people playing factions that they don't normally play.
They wouldn't normally play. Yeah.
Or they're playing without models that they would normally play.
Yeah. Yeah. It skews the data sets basically when they do
For
that
sure.
stuff. Yeah. But it is one of the funnest ways to play the format, to play MCP. So
Nope.
there's
Nope. I wholeheartedly agree, and New England may have something to say about that pretty soon. Keep your ears posted.
that. May have a bubble in. You may have an announcement. All right. We got Dracula and Co. next.
Yeah, similar to what I said about Legion of the Lost. The skill expression from the wide open faction is really cool.
You figure these guys slot like right in front of Legion of the Lost, right?
Yeah, or right behind. I don't know.
I mean, he's Dracula. He's cool. I'm putting him in front.
Yeah,
Right
I mean,
behind
you're
him,
goth. He's goth. I get
Yeah.
it.
No, I'm emo. There's a difference, bro. You can't call an emo a goth. People will get offended, man.
You kids these days.
You kids these days all go into Hot Topic and watching music television. All right. It's like, so I mean, like I get what you're saying, and it's the same reason why I think he's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a full kimono open faction to the entire game, right? And then you can kind of pick and choose, right?
yeah, 7-die attacks are really cool. Looking at your opponent going blah 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 is really cool.
Sculpt is pretty cool. Flavor is pretty cool. At least for me.
Yeah, the bats. I mean, maybe cut some of the bats off the cape because they're gonna break anyway.
Yeah, but it's like I think he lacks some level of like core synergy and game plan, and you ultimately, at least in my opinion, end up piecing together teams that are made of like good vanilla models that benefit from Drax, right? Like that, or Dracul. I shouldn't call him Drax because there's literally a model that's called that.
Yeah, everybody knew what you were saying though.
Yeah. Like I don't know. That's my take here. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, some people have had success with them. I definitely think you could have some success with them. I think that success is going to be hard fought. And it's tough to get around the lack of, explosive tactics cards. When you're dealing with surprise webhead versus, your leadership being a tactics card, it's really tough.
Yeah. I think one of the core things that I'm picking up on, at least as we're having this conversation, is like this for you to be in like the P good threshold or be like kind of a mover and shaker in the P good threshold and up, like, which in my mind is like the more viable tournament viable armies or factions or sub factions. You need like a couple of things, right? Like you need access to some level of group of efficient models. You need at least a decent leader with at least a decent leadership power, and then you ideally want to have tactic cards that are good, right? Like, and I guess one of the things that I learned as I was playing this game more competitively was to really take the tactics cards very seriously and understand at an intimate level not just how my team operates, but like how the meta at large, like what each individual sub faction is doing with their tactical cards. And like I've found through like I have nowhere near as much experience in this game as you do, but what I found is like generally the stronger sub factions tend to have a good, solid, cohesive game plan and access to like fairly unique, individually powerful tactics cards, right? And if you're lacking that, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle to become relevant in the tournament meta competitive scene. You think that's fair to say?
No, I think that's totally fair to say. And I think if you look at our top factions and you start going out one by one, they're hitting all three of those sections, right?
Yeah.
Good leadership, powerful tactics cards, good selection of models.
Yeah, yeah. And then as pieces of that fall off, you kind of fall down the ladder. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then it becomes contextual, right? Because there's different forms of strengths that these factions have, but like to be in that top echelon of tiers, you kind of need each of those pieces at least to some degree. I think, right? I feel like we both agree on that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay. I mean, any closing thoughts on Mr. Dracula before we go to one of my full-time flavor win factions also, obviously, that everybody knows I'm a huge fanboy of as well. Any closing thoughts?
I think that's all I've got to say about Drac.
Okay. And then next up we got X-Men, right? I love these guys, obviously. They're the bomb. Like, grew up watching cartoons of them my whole life. Still read comics on them. Love all of the sculpts. One of the reasons I started playing Marvel Crisis Protocol in the first place. Unfortunately, I don't play these guys directly because a different one of my buddies that I live really close to, that I play IRL with, does run them as a core faction. So I don't own these guys actually, which is I'm a little salty about. I might just pull the trigger and get them as well, and just say screw it. One of the things that I thought was really cool for these guys, because I'm going to try to steal the thunder at least a little bit because I'm passionate about these boys, is like I like how they have access to efficient team tactics cards, and I also like the glow up that their leadership got, not like recently, but like, you know, from when they were coming from a place of like not having super efficient or great leaders, and then they got tweaks on them that I really enjoyed. And I always love like the flexible team play efficiency that you can get with this faction. And I think that you also have access to a lot of really fun models. Like, I don't know, what do you think in terms of the current playability and the competitive? Because I feel like my brain is thinking not necessarily like tournament X-Men. My brain is more like, oh man, I could play Nightcrawler, and now I can play Gambit again, and like Storm is pretty cool to just bring as a leader now, and like I really like her. Like that's how I kind of look at this faction, but I obviously haven't run them at a tournament before. So
yeah, so Storm's leadership used to define the faction, right? So you were looking for that round one jank to teleport without using the power and like move and grab something and move and grab something else, and like it was all about, like, to me, my X-Men and moving people around and hopping and doing the storm hop, and like it became this weird machine that like you had to memorize, very Malifaux-esque, right?
yeah.
Her original leadership reminded me a lot of reading a Malifaux battle report, where it was like, you have to do these things in this order.
Yeah, you do this, then that, and then that, and then that, and you do it all in that order, and you get like double AP efficiency out of your whole crew, and it's amazing.
Yeah, so that's what it used to be. And then now with the power cost, it has opened the faction up. I think they're a difficult faction to play, and they've got some models that are not as hardy as you want them to be.
Yeah, they can get popped.
They do get just like randomly spiked off of the table, even though like some of them have some defensive tech and stuff. So it's hard. Professor X's leadership is just a worse version of Black Bolt's, sort of. Like,
Brutal.
It's weird, right? Because like you're spending power to gain power, so Black Bolt, you're just shifting it, where his, you're actually getting some use out of it. But I think it has caused a lot of people that I've played against to make poor choices with their power, to send it to somebody else, where maybe the original character should have just held on to it. So I think it's an extremely difficult, not to untangle, and I'm not sure there's ever a perfect answer. Like I don't think it's one of those Gordian knots where like you can just mathematically defeat it and say like, okay, these are the play patterns I need to be under Professor X, which is always going to give them, because they are so popular, people love them, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
obviously, like I'm super biased to them. I think they're dope.
Yeah,
I mean, they're probably they've got to be in front of New Mutants though, right? Right?
yeah, I
right?
think they're playable, even though their win rate
Not great.
is, pretty low. I think they're playable. I think,
You think? I mean, they're probably like the front of could use some love, probably. Honestly, it's like
maybe it's
probably
hard,
honestly,
man. Like they've got a really good stable of characters, right? Like a Nightcrawler
That's
and a
what I'm saying.
Psylocke and a Rogue.
That's what I'm saying.
They got some really good tactic cards.
You just wanna put 'em-
Their leaderships are fine.
Yeah, but like, look at how you're reacting, right? You're kind of making excuses for them. I'll put them in the back of play. Like, so here's the question. Here's a question for you. Do you think they're better or worse than Brotherhood? They're probably better than Brotherhood. About the
Probably.
same?
Probably.
So you think they go in front of Brotherhood on playable tier
Yeah.
then? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of. I don't know if I want to put them any further than that, but I'm fine with in front of Brotherhood on playable tier.
All right.
Uh,
Some common models you're gonna see Beast, you're gonna see Colossus. Domino makes splashes every once in a while. Honey Badger, if you need the affiliated to. Nightcrawler is pretty staple.
I love Nightcrawler. That model's so cool.
Yeah, and then your leader of choice is obviously going to be a staple. Yeah, so that's a lot of what you'll see around there. Then there's some other models that are good, like Psylocks and Rogues and Shadowcats and X-23.
They have access, like, the thing that, like, they have access to a lot of individually pretty cool models. Like, you just, like, fired off, like, 7 models just now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And a lot of them have, like, good movement tech, right? Like, Shadowcat and Nightcrawler both have really cool movement tech, right? So.
Yep, Magic's got good movement tech. Iceman's got good movement tech. Like, Angel's got good movement tech and moves other people. Like, you've got some cool things going on there.
Yeah. It's just, they're not, I think they could be a bit better, and they have tools, and I think right now they're probably in a place where, like, a couple of more, like a tweak this way, a tweak that way, maybe in access to another model, could find them up another tier, right? Because, like, they have the type of tools that I really like, but I think they're just, like, missing the whole bigger picture currently. It's kind of how I feel about these guys, if I'm being honest with you. If I'm dropping my veneer of, like, fanboyism for them. You know what I mean? All right, cool. We got Wakanda up next.
Good old Wakanda.
Yeah. Is that, I hope that's how you pronounce it, just to, like, rage bait people when you're at tournaments. Oh, you're playing the Wakandadas then. Nah, you see there, sir. Yeah, this is like pure supreme rage baiting. Good job, Shane. All right, where were you guys at in the meta then?
So I think the reason you don't see more Wakanda players is the King T box is so expensive.
Yeah. And that's shitty. Like, it's always, like, kind of a shame, right? When you're like, is that the one that comes with the giant terrain piece and is, like, crazy pricey?
And the terrain piece is not even really usable on a table.
Yeah, it's like not even a functional piece of MCP terrain, basically.
Yeah, so that's the part that bothers me the most, is I can't even really put the terrain piece on the table. But anyway, so they've got some really good tactics cards. They've got some really good models. King T is a phenomenal model. Koye has always been a staple 2 threat. Shuri is probably underplayed. M'Baku's leadership is pretty good. It's sad that they have 3 Black Panthers and they all have the same T'Challa name. They could certainly get a T'Chaka in there, and you would see, like, Chosen of Bast more often. This guy just literally never gets played because people play the other Black Panther.
It's one of those scenarios where Model B doesn't get played because Model A exists, basically.
I think they're really good. I think they're probably near the top of pretty good somewhere. Maybe behind Criminals, Shield, Avengers.
Do you think? Yeah, they probably slot in like right behind Avengers, probably, or like in that conversation. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like their win rate right now is really good.
I think you
But-
could take like I think you could make an argument for Criminal, Shield, Avengers, or these guys, and like shuffle them anywhere in those front four. Like these are all good. They have good tools. They have good models. But for me personally, I probably put them like behind Avengers, right? Like fourth place of those four, probably personally.
Yeah, I think they've got some consistency problems. Like M'Baku's leadership tries to smooth that, and like King T'Challa's rerolls try to smooth that. Shuri's rerolls try to smooth that. But at the end of the day, I think they're paying a little bit for the sins of the original Black Panther, where their spenders are difficult to get off because they want to be spending power on other things, which keeps their dice pools low, which hurts them in spiking people off the table unless you're Killmonger. And T'Challa, don't get me wrong, man. When T'Challa's backed up by Shuri, he can blow up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that that's a good encapsulation of like where they're at. And the more that I listen to you talk about this, and I'm like, it's like, that SpongeBob meme was like, write that down, and like nodding your head, like I feel even more confident about where we put them, which is like they're pretty good and they've got good tools, but do they offer as cohesive and efficient potentially a package as the the three in front of them? Probably not right now. And it also really stinks that to fully unlock these guys, you need to spend like, what is it, like $115 or something stupid, like at least $100 for that 2 model pack with a giant unusable piece of terrain as well.
Yeah, right. Pro tip for the people out there, put it on your miniature market favorite list. I ended up just getting it a couple of weeks ago off miniature market for like $50.
Yeah, or just like 3D print yourself one, to be honest.
Whatever you're into.
Pirate that shit, Fight the power, everyone. Pirate that shit. Shade's like, I cannot confirm or deny as an affiliate tournament organizer of the greater New England area that this is an appropriate action. Goes into robot mode. All right. I think you did a good job encompassing these guys. And we talked about, I think, a bunch of their core models as we were explaining the sub-faction. But do you want to just list off a couple, like, core models you're going to see when you see these guys on the table?
Yeah, I think the 3 core for everybody is King T'Challa, and M'Baku, and Okoye.
Yeah.
After that, you're going to see Killmonger as a role player. You're going to see Shuri as a role player, maybe. I don't know. I think people play her a lot less than I do. And you're going to see M'Baku throwing out Wrath of the Jabari Chieftain, and you're going to see King T'Challa doing Wisdom of the Ancients, and they're going to have some really big turns. But again, they just don't have that power. Like if they, God forbid, they ever get a power leadership that's not Killmonger or Usurper.
God help us all.
Yep. So if they ever get like a real power leadership, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ass ride. We're going to go up to very sexy very quickly here. All right, cool. Any closing thoughts on these guys before we move on?
Nope.
Right,
I think that's it. I think
they're
solid.
Schweppen X.
Yeah, Schweppen X is in a really weird place, man. The tactics card leadership is perfectly fine, I guess. I don't know.
Pretty unenthusiastic, Shane.
Yeah, like I've played him a bunch, and like sometimes you get all of the aggressives off of that leadership, and it gets your people back into the fight, and it's really cool. And then other times it just
does nothing.
Work out.
Works out poorly.
Yeah, Maverick and Weapon X were decent additions. I think Maverick adds a little bit more range with the hit and run. That's a little bit more mobile than Domino.
Yeah.
His anti-healing tech could be weird in a couple of matchups. Some of the stuff that's popular nowadays.
It feels it's like really good when it's relevant, but it's like you have games where it just doesn't do anything.
I wouldn't take him for the anti-healing factor even into like Immortal Hulk and Midnight Suns. But like, if I
Yeah.
happen to be standing there and there's a dude within 3 who wants to remove damage, I'll maybe
Yeah.
if you see your opponent's got patch up, right? Like if you see that they're running patch up, then maybe
I feel like you're reaching pretty hard to make this model good here. Shane.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's fine. His tactics card, which gives you the cover or the dice on the attack, is pretty good. I think Honey Badger is in a weird place because she doesn't count, but there have been some people running lists with Weapon X that are going super duper wide with all the 3s and the 2, and taking some out of faction stuff like a Zemo and stuff. And it's interesting and it's cool. And there's been some success with it because it's really hard to stop all of these little healing factor shitters running around the table. That if you don't one-shot them, that's who they activate next.
Right.
And they can like give them the bonus dice, and then when they do get dazed, they get the memory token back, so then they get the bonus dice again. So
I'm a big fan of that playstyle. Like, to be honest, like spam the board with like pseudo durable shitters and be like, you better one shot these, otherwise it's gonna be really annoying for you.
Yeah, no, and it's a cool play pattern, and some people have been having some success with it. They're still really low played. People are still trying to do stuff with Logan and Apex, who are both really cool models, and they've got their place. But I think if you start your list as Logan, Apex, X-23 as your top 3, and that's your core 11 points, I don't think it's as good as taking X-23 leadership and then leaving the world open for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, these guys
can
are
still use some love, man.
Okay, like better or worse than New Mutants?
I don't know.
I feel like the experimental stuff I see from these guys, I see lists from X4, Weapon X like lists, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And like, at least like for me personally, it draws me to them, and like I find myself like, oh, I would try that. Where I feel less inclined that way with New Mutants. So like, my bias would be to kind of put them at the front of Could Use Some Love, but I don't know.
Probably.
Argue me down or up or whatever.
No, I think that's fine. I think that's a perfectly reasonable spot for him.
Do you think that we rated because we rated Brotherhood pretty quickly? Do you think that we rated Brotherhood too highly at this point? Do you think they should be like basically behind Weapon X and Could Use Some Love? I'm kind of thinking that.
So we rated them thinking that the new box was out, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You're right. Yeah. That's fair. Okay, yeah, I'm being an idiot.
I would say they are and Could Use Some Love, maybe.
That is literally what you told me at the beginning of this, and I'm just being stupid. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're presuming that they have their new models. Fair enough. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, we got my favorite faction in the game. I freaking love these guys. I definitely have the most playtime on these of anything else in the game currently. We got Web Warriors. These guys are awful, right, Shane? They're just the worst. These guys suck.
Top win rate last month.
Yeah.
Not a shock, I don't think, to anybody. They were +4
They're good.
places from the month before, so they went from 5th to 1st. But when you're just floating in the top 5 all the time, that's pretty good.
Yeah. My big take on Web Warriors and why I really like them is because they play like they just swarm the board, super efficient models. They've got really good baked in defensive abilities. They're very mobile, and they can just swarm objectives and be efficient at interacting with them, and then be really annoying to individually pluck off the board. And you just have access to like some of the best models in the game, quite frankly, and like Miles Morales, Black Cat, like Spider-Woman, Agent Vet, like all of these models I'm listing off are just like good models that other factions love to have affiliations with, right? And you just have them all together in one place, and you've got some seriously strong synergy tactics cards as well. I mean, tell me I'm wrong, but
no, I think you're perfectly right, and they've got a pretty unique play style on the table, which is really cool.
Yeah, they don't really play like too many of these other factions. Like they're not. I'm not often. I've played games where I just like don't attack, right? Like because I don't have to. Like it's like you have to come and get me, because if you don't stop me, I'm going to just outscore you. Like, I'm not really interested in fighting you. I'm interested in getting to the objectives, interacting with them super efficiently, and then like being annoying about having to be chased down. And there's a lot of like teams from a construction standpoint, when the opponents place their teams together and they build them, and more traditional MCP is like, you know, you run in and you fight, and then like people die on both sides, and generally the team that has more models can then be more efficient interacting with the objectives and thusly win. Where it's like the paradigm is becoming pretty dramatically shifted when you're approaching this as a Web Warriors player, because you're like, I'm not fucking fighting you. Like, I'm just gonna run over here, interact on these things, pull these things away, displace you, and like we're not even fighting. Like, in fact, you know, let's not fight at all this game. You know, and it shifts the way that a traditional game of MCP is generally played. And unless you're an experienced opponent of Web Warriors and you don't come prepared for them, you don't come prepared for that play style, you don't come prepared with things to cut through their like Spidey sense defensive tech, you can have a no bueno day real quickly, I think. Unless, you know, again, tell me I'm an idiot, tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm a misguided youth, you know.
I mean, you're a misguided youth, but that statement was also correct.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing I would add is not only are they a super scenario team, but the all webbed up turn does so much for them, right?
So
it
good.
allows them to spike a threat off of the table to give them that super turn.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And allows them it gives them that ability to run away with the game. Like, they're keeping parity, scoring +1 on you, +2 on you with all their control and their extra.
And then you hit them with the all webbed up turn, and that's when it breaks. That's when the game breaks, right? Ideally.
And then you're +4 that turn, right? Because you've eliminated 1 or 2 activations, you've slowed everybody else so they can't move around the table effectively after you've displaced them, and hopefully that turn you're getting like +4, and you've just put the game out of reach.
Yeah, that's like the classic Web Warrior game. Is that's like, as a Web Warrior pilot, that's how I want it to go. I want to be like slightly in front of you, annoying on board to chase down, and then I take my all webbed up turn, and then that's where I close the game, right? And then from that point, I'm playing generally to just like race and close out the game, or hopefully maybe even win that turn, to be honest, a lot of the time. So yeah, and I feel like they've had that play style for as long as I've been playing them, at least, you know, like it hasn't changed that much, at least.
Unless, I think if you went to the point of really like going deep into the attacking Web Warriors, it's definitely a style that exists that you could do.
You can, yeah. So that's a really good point, and I was about to bring that up, right? They are a known entity in the game, and you can tech against them on your bench, and you should be teching for them on your bench, right? So like, I think it's a little bit different from the Moonanites that we talked about, or APOC and Co., where it's like, you know, these guys are newer to the meta relative. The Web Warriors have been doing this song and dance for a good while, right? And they're kind of a known commodity, so you're gonna see things like that have Incinerate, right? That apply Incinerate to these guys, or you're gonna see stuff where they like bring in mystical damage to tech against the Spidey sense. Like, there's a bunch of known ways that often when you go into a tournament match, there's like, they're probably gonna have models on their bench for Web Warriors, right? Even whether or not incidentally, and they're smart enough to bring them in, or if they're like really, really afraid of the matchup, they might have like 1 or 2 models specifically for it. That's been my experience with Web Warriors, is like, you know, you show up and on their bench, they've got tools to deal with you because they're afraid of you, effectively.
Yeah.
And I think Web Warriors is uniquely exposed to that because the play metrics that they're operating on, like their game plan, is more unique, and they do have more specific deficits, like that if you can expose those, you know, they become a lot less annoying to pick up, become a lot easier to pick off the table. They lose their board state advantage. You start falling behind on points, basically. Unless, you know, anything. I mean, I think that's basically the TLDR for these boyos. Unless you think I'm...
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely correct.
Okay, and then my thought here for core models you're going to run into is, like, you're always going to see Black Cat. You're going to see the low-cost Peter, because he's just insane.
Yep.
You're, like, I really like I don't know. I feel like the most important ones are Low Cost Peter and Black Cat, and then kind of you can argue for a bunch of other stuff. Like I like Agent Venom a lot, but I don't take him all the time. I like Spider Woman a lot, but I don't take her all the time. I feel like the always must haves are Black Cat and Miles Morales. Sorry, I'm an idiot. You've got Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Black Cat, and to me, those are like the three models that are in every list that I play, and then I rotate in and out past those, unless you think different.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Ghost Spider as well, but I'm a Gwen stan, so
She's really good. She's like Ghost Spider is really good, but I don't bring her like every time. It's like I do probably play Ghost Spider like 85% of the time, maybe, or something like that, right?
yeah.
Because sometimes I have to bring in packages to deal with other matchups, and if I have to cut a model and I'm like getting real low on points, I do sometimes find myself cutting Ghost Spider, and I will always cut Ghost Spider before cheap Peter Parker, Miles, and Black Cat. Is kind of my point, basically.
I mean, I don't agree with that, but I think I am also not in the. I don't think I'm in the popular opinion there. I take Ghost Spider all the time.
You're gonna cause a riot on the internet, Shane.
Yeah, I mean the internet tells me I'm bad all the time.
Well, the internet can... All right, cool. Any last words on these? I feel like you let me wax poetic on them for a while. Obviously this is like my faction, and I love these guys. So, thank you for dealing with me there. All right, we got the Red Stars. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Winter Guard are underrated, but still not great.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think that's fair.
Like,
people give them more of a hard time than they deserve, but they're still certainly not world beaters or even on the more competitive side. But they're fine. Like I think like when I think of Winter Guard, it's like they're fine. That's how I tend to approach them. But let's talk a little bit. I guess talk to me a little bit about specifically how they're operating the meta right now.
Yeah, I think again the loss of ease hurt them. Just like Magneto, Crimson Dynamo wants to sit in the center of the map, have everybody near him so he can use the disruption field and just reroll all the opponent's dice and just outlast people. Red Guardian is a really weird model. Sometimes he's sort of tanky, but then like he's not as tanky as like the Caps. But his gainer, it's a gainer, which is really good for this model who you want to be playing Comrade's Keeper and like protecting somebody in a key important turn. But it's an auto push on size 3 or less, which there's not a ton of those, especially on tanky models. He's only 5 health on the front side. I really think he could use a glow up to 6. Because I think he's falling behind the meta. But auto throw for size 3 or less on his spender. Like he's got some good stuff going for him. Darkstar, if her gainer was turned into a builder, she would probably be fine. She's just fallen behind, like old design philosophy. Omega Red got added to the faction. Some people play him. He still has some issues, mainly with his action compression. I think their thought was that his action compression would be ensnare, pulling people in. But yeah, it just doesn't end up working out that way for him. And he gets displaced, right?
Do you figure... My take is like these guys are living in like the Weapon X New Mutant type range conversation. Maybe?
Yeah, like the new Bucky getting added and Black Widow getting added. I mean, your core right now, I think your core 3 is Widow, Dynamo, Red Guardian, splash 2 characters. Dynamo's leadership randomly
these
stopping
guys...
pushes. So it's a 50-50 or less, a little bit less than a 50-50 shot. It's defensive stuff. When you're going to get pushed while you're on a secure to not get pushed, which is good. And then at the start of your character's activation, they remove a special condition. So like I've tried splashing Gladiator in there a little bit because Gladiator getting staggered makes him feel like a sad boy, and it's fine. Your Hulks, your Red Skulls, those kinds of people being splashed in the faction, I think is good. I'm not sure it's as good as the power factions is the problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna put these guys at the very front of could use some love because I do think like they are probably better than Weapon X and New Mutants, but like they've got some stuff that they need to probably get. They could use some love, you know?
Yeah, they need to go to therapy. Like even though they're up there, above Guardians of the Galaxy in win percentage, I think that's a dedicated few.
Well, we have Guardians that like behind. Do you think Guardians deserve? Because we got in the could use some love tier right now. We've got Winter Guard, then we've got Weapon X, then we got New Mutants, then we've got Dracula, then we've got Mephisto and Co. Then we've got Guardians. Do you feel like Guardians deserve to be like way further up? Then are we being unfair to Guardians here?
Nah, I don't know. I think they're still a slot machine.
I think they're a fun slot. I'm gonna put them in front of Dracula just because like.
All right.
That's at least fair to them.
You're making the judgment call.
Yeah, man, I'm making the executive decision. Come at me at the internet. Come at me, the internet. I'm a Guardians fanboy. Deal with it.
Yeah, and maybe Winter Guard should even be a little bit lower. I just think their main power right now is their splash ability, right? You put somebody in there, and you've got some protection in Red Guardian. You've got some protection in the disruption field from Dynamo. You've got a good 2 threat who's stealth and just going to grab an extract round 1, go sit on your back point round 2, 3, 4, and she scores you 2 points a turn.
Yeah, but I think like what you just described is a solid ass shell, and that's
it's a good shell, and the leadership helps some of the big fat models remove that stagger, remove that shock, so that they can do the things that they want to do.
They just want. I think they need models with better profiles. Like I think they could really benefit from like a new box of like 2 really usable models.
Yeah, or like Ursa moves up to a medium move would help them, especially with the charge on his card. Like he just lags behind a little bit.
Yeah.
I think design philosophy, like you look at Shang-Chi and you look at this guy and you go, they're both 4 threat, and you wonder what went wrong.
You cry a little.
You cry a little inside. And and again, Darkstar, like these guys were clearly like part of, I think it was like the Wave 2 design or
a much earlier design philosophy, and they're suffering a little bit from old age right now, basically. I think. Yeah.
So like they weren't great when they came out, and they gave them a couple of tools to help them in Black Widow, Omega Red, and Winter Soldier Operative, which has helped, but
they could still use a little love per their category.
Use a little bit of love.
Yeah. All right, we are officially. I know this is going to be another emotional one, right? Because we're, at least for my buddy, this is because this was his first faction. We got Cabal and Co. Right? Cabal and Bishop and all their buddies. We got the X-Force. It's the last one, yeah. This is the last one. Did we do it, Shane?
Yeah, we did.
We accomplished our great goal.
We did it.
Man, high five. There we go. Let's do it. My buddy plays this faction too. My buddy that plays X-Men plays X-Force as well, because has all the models. I don't know. Talk to me a little bit about these guys, where they're sitting in the meta right now.
So I think they're in like a weird spot. They don't have a lot of Crisis in the new Crisis that they like. Cabal is a 5 threat with a 5 die gun. Yeah, you might be able to get 2 rerolls, but you might not be able to get 2 rerolls. The affiliation bonus is totally fine, removing cover within 3, but only on the 1 reroll, the 1 attack a turn that you reroll. Makes it really weird. Card wise, they've got the cat and mouse, which is going to send them up. The rest of their cards are acceptable to take, but they're not like stuff to write home about. Domino is cool, but she doesn't really have any movement. Deadpool is cool, but there are certain things in the meta right now that just prey on something with 4 health. Bishop needs some help in movement, and maybe he's a good cat and mouse target. I haven't tried cat and mouse with him yet. Maybe getting him up the field so he can like walk, shoot, turn one. Gets his train rolling. I know that's what a lot of people are doing when they play him in X-Men. Is they'll like, to me, my X-Men, that guy turn one to get him up the field. Colossus got to glow up, so he's probably in a pretty good spot. Honey Badger doesn't count on points, and you have a 5-threat leader, so then it's like, in your 5-threat leader, he's body sliding every turn, but he wants to get within 3 of people, so he's got this weird play pattern. X-23 we've talked about is a good model. Psylocke's a good model. Wolverine and Sabretooth are fine. Warlock's fine. Sunspot, probably, you could leave that guy out of your list and he's all right.
I probably could stay at home forever.
He could probably stay at home.
Okay. Yeah.
Archangel, with the Death from Above card, sometimes is cheekily good, especially like when the terrain's to the point where there's only like a size 2 that he could stand on and there's no other real terrain around him, so he can like Death from Above people who are just standing on points and get the extra couple of dice. It's pretty good.
And they've got like they can, when they're humming and when all this stuff goes off, I mean, they can do some damage too. I don't hate these guys. My take is that they're in the middle of the playable tier, kind of, unless you disagree strongly here.
I mean, their win rate certainly doesn't say that. Their win rate, they are number 23 last month with 43% win rate.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like overall that's kind of a misrepresentation of them, but I'm open to being wrong on that, I guess. Like, you figure these guys are better than Brotherhood of, or maybe not better than New Brotherhood of Mutants. Yeah, maybe not.
No, I think they could use some love. I think they need something.
Do you think they're better than they've got to be like the front of Could Use Some Love, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased to these guys. I like them.
Yeah, probably they're probably better than the internet gives them credit for. I think a lot of people avoid them because you've got a 5-threat leader and he's a slot machine. So you've got a 5-threat leader with a 5-die attack, and if he does good, you do good. If he does bad, you have a bad day.
You eat it. Yeah, you have a bad day. Okay, fine. I'll put him behind everybody's favorite Red Star Affiliation, but in front of Weapon X. I think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. I mean, we have exercised the entire MCP meta. Thanks for staying with us, guys. If you've made it this far in the video, which probably like 1% of our viewership has, thanks for watching us, guys. We're gonna keep doing a lot more MCP content. We wanted to start with this video because it's kind of laying the foundational framework for how Shane and I view the game generally. And when you hear us talk about the game, again, Shane and I are fairly competitive wargamers in general. And so we're viewing this game from mostly a tournament playing perspective. So when you hear our thoughts and opinions about these factions, we're generally taking our own personal biases and experiences and trying to mix that together with what we see as reliable data analytics and kind of come to you guys with a relatively personalized product, but one that's informed by a strong amount of tournament results and analytics that we think are viable. So like that's what you're getting here from this tier list with us, and that's what we're going to keep trying to kind of curate and maintain as you see more Marvel Crisis Protocol videos from Danger Planet. In the future, we certainly are going to start to do like faction breakdowns and very likely bring on different types of guests to talk about like faction specialists. But when you're looking at our tier list stuff in relation to kind of the evolving meta shifts, that's how Shane and I are usually going to be talking about this stuff contextually. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have ideas, if you disagree with us, if you agree with us, if you think, I have a stupid haircut, whatever you want to say it in the comments. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe. It really does help us. We are a small indie wargaming channel with a plucky can-do attitude. So whatever you guys can do to kind of interact, support with the channel really does help us and let us know that we should be making more Marvel Crisis Protocol content, which we're going to do anyway. But, like I said, get in there and interact for the analytics. Shane, anything else you want to say before we wrap this sucker up?
No, just go see Soren. Like I said, we'll throw a link in the comments. His blog was great in helping us put this together, but also it's just a good read every month.
Yeah.
He puts a lot of thought and time into it.
His takes are super legit, and like he does a good job of consolidating a shitload of data and giving you a fairly reliable product that you can kind of like do a one-stop shop for the state of the game, basically. Unless you think I'm wrong here. I mean, that's kind of how I feel
Nope, you are totally on point. And also, thanks to Red Sam for Longshanks. Without Longshanks, a lot of this would not also be possible.
Yeah.
And again, if you don't have a statistical background, the amount of games that we're seeing on Longshanks is not representative of any sort of statistical sample size. So use it for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah. Do you have any local events you want to pitch? Or anything else going on in the community that you want to highlight from an MCP perspective?
We've got a local event happening at the Battle Standard on June 28th.
The Battle Standard.
So look forward to that. If you're in the area, would love to see you come out. And yeah, hopefully we will have some news on conventions in February here pretty soon.
Yeah, and stay tuned to the Planet, guys. Shane and I are going to be coming back at you with lots of Marvel Crisis Protocol content. Like I said, our initial videos are probably going to be focused on meta watch articles and tier lists like you've seen here. And then we're probably going to move into faction focus, and as there's moving and shaking, like for big like updates within the game, we might make a couple of one-off videos on that. If you have other ideas or other stuff you want to see us cover, like I said, this is a kind of a new product line for Danger Planet. So let us know in the comments. Shane and I are happy to take recommendations and suggestions, and if you want to yell at us, you can do that too. So I guess the only thing we have left, Shane, is to say goodbye to the internet.
Goodbye,
Would you like to do the internet? Goodbye, the internet. See you later.
Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the planet. You can check out the video description below for all of our important info and links. You can see a link to the Discord if you want to come be nerds on the internet with us. We have channels for like all the games that we're playing and all of our community members are excited about. You can also check out all of our affiliate links for like our Redbubble merch store, our Pro Acryl discount code because they make the best hobby supplies on our planet and yours. And of course, our weird affiliate link if you're buying Malifaux stuff straight from Jonathan Q. Weird himself. Most importantly, though, you can see a link to our Patreon where I post things from time to time, like behind the scenes cuts or early vids, and we even have a tier where I'll bake you cookies and send them to you in real life. Thanks a ton to our current patrons who cover the cost of all of our software to make these videos, and we couldn't do it without them. You can see their names appearing now across the screen. And until next time, goodbye the internet. We did it!